The Short Take with Alex and Jake.
Hello, and welcome to The Short Take, the podcast where we talk about all things short films, apart from when we don't. I'm your host, Jake. With me, as ever, is my co-host, Alex, who's trying to tempt the cat over at the moment.
I don't like the term tempt the cat.
Why not?
She wants to get out.
Yeah. I think she's a bit fed up with you.
What do you mean with me? She'll leave. Meow. Oh no, she can get out.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's trying to get you.
So
Anyway.
she's not done with me.
No. She's trying to get you to feed her.
No. You can't do that.
I've lost my train of thought entirely.
I went, it's me.
It's me, Alex. Yeah.
Yeah.
This week, we are not talking about short films. This week, we're going to be talking about our top 10 films of 2023.
What? I didn't know that.
Oh no, have you not prepared?
It's fine, I'll make it up. I think, did I do the same joke last time?
Very possibly,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting tired.
Mm.
I think it was a new material.
This is the last episode of this podcast.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, this is it.
So it's the last time I can make that joke.
Yeah. I don't know, we might do
On
top
this
10.
podcast.
On this podcast, yeah. We might do top 10s again, I don't know.
Maybe, who knows?
Who knows? We'll have to see how we feel. Before we get into the top 10, which I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about, I've got a little quickfire round for you, which is inspired a little bit by Brett Goldstein's Films to be Buried With.
Is it about films this year?
Yeah.
Oh,
I want the
no.
answers to be films from this year.
Oh god, it's just my top 10 list basically.
Yeah.
What I've seen.
What is your number 10 film?
I've got 10 questions.
So the first question,
Yeah.
and I just want your gut reaction to these, okay?
I'll try.
This one is fully ripped from the Weekly Planet. Was this the best year ever or the worst year ever for film?
Worst year ever.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, if it's out of those two, it's
Yeah.
the worst year ever.
Interesting.
It's not really, but like out of those two.
What film had the biggest hype but was ultimately the biggest flop for you this year?
Oh. I just feel like I wasn't hyped.
For anything?
Anything. Like,
Really?
the things I was hyped about ended up being really good. I
Okay,
don't think there was
okay.
anything I was hyped about that really let me down. I mean, I don't think I saw anything that I was like excited to see, and then upon seeing it, it was like, ugh.
Okay, interesting.
I feel like
Alright.
last year I definitely had some,
Yeah.
but like not 2023.
Okay. Well, to supplement your answer, I'll give my answer.
Go on.
Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
How are you hyped for that?
Because I like Transformers.
Why?
I don't know. I'm always disappointed.
Yeah,
every
obviously.
time.
So you shouldn't be hyped.
I always want them to make a good one.
They
Bumblebee
made
was
Bumblebee,
quite good.
and it was fine.
But it's in the new universe of the Bumblebee stuff, so I was like, maybe.
I don't
It wasn't
care.
good. It was really bad. Well, I know you don't care. I care.
I liked Bumblebee and I don't care. I liked Bumblebee and then I was like, well, I'm never watching that again because there's no point. I'll watch the Iron Giant instead.
The Iron Giant is good. Was there a scene this year that made you punch the air like the ending of the Breakfast Club?
Oh, definitely. See, I feel like this is the opposite problem. Is I feel multiple.
Okay. It's also the alternative ask of this is the you know, a couple of years ago at the Oscars they did I can't remember what they called it, but like the Flashpoint scene in Justice League. It was like audience hype moment,
Was it
something
most
like that.
tweeted moment or something?
Something like that, something stupid like that.
I hate
That's what this question is.
everything. I've got two answers.
Okay.
So when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles started, and it was just immediately, I was like, this is good.
Okay.
From the moment I realised it was a good film, that was a fist pump moment.
Okay.
I was like, this is amazing. And then probably the other one would have to be the hallway scene in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay, yeah.
That's fucking sick.
Yeah, that was cool. What was your favourite line from a film this year?
It's probably I've got kind of two.
Okay.
The first one that came to my mind was the bit in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles where he's like, we don't even have nipples when they're talking about being milked. That came to my mind because that was a very funny joke.
That is a good line.
But then actually I think the best line of the year is Sublime! From Ryan Gosling in Barbie. When he's behind the door.
Okay,
I think that is the best line of the year.
That's the improv one, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Okay.
Sublime!
The final question.
Yeah.
What's your most anticipated film of 2024? This one's so easy for me.
I don't know if it is for me because I can't really think. I mean, for you, it's Dune, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I rewatched Dune the other day.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's alright.
It's alright. It's incredible.
It's fine. I didn't love it the second time. But I was like, I like it. It's not bad. But I'm like, it is very long.
It is very long, though. That is a fair
Technically
criticism.
not. I do feel like maybe it should have been a series, weirdly. Like,
Yeah, no,
Because it
no,
just
I
feels
disagree.
like nothing happens for the most part. And like I think Denis Villeneuve loves his long takes of like stuff, and it is scene setting. But then there's another part of me that's like, okay, we've seen a lot of sap. There's big old worms. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, but I am excited. I am excited for the second one. It's not my most anticipated though.
Okay.
I feel like what's coming out this year? Deadpool's definitely up there. Very excited for that.
Madame Web.
Madame Web, obviously. That's. I just didn't want to say that because it's too obvious.
It's the obvious. I think everyone's picking it.
Exactly.
It's in everyone's list. So
I think actually my number one most anticipated film is Wicked Little Letters.
Oh yeah. I saw the
looks-
poster for that.
Yeah, it looks really good. I saw a trailer end of last year, and I was like,
Yeah.
that looks great.
We were talking about it recently, and then
Yeah.
I went to the cinema and saw the poster, and I was like, that's the one Alex said.
That's the one I said, Olivia
Yeah.
Colman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that actually.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to check that one out. Cool. That's the warm-up round done.
Oof.
You feeling pumped and ready to go?
I don't know.
Feel top 10?
Now I feel worried.
Okay. One little question
Go on.
before we start. How much crossover do you reckon we'll have?
I feel like it's definitely going to be like at least 3 because there are
Okay.
like 3 big films that came out this year. I would
Okay.
argue that like one of them I feel like I know where it is because I think you mentioned it.
Okay.
You've already seen my list technically.
I have, so I'm not going to comment.
Yeah.
I don't fully remember your list, by the way.
No, that's
I only
fair.
remember like 2 or 3 of them.
I think it's definitely 3. I think there's a small chance it's 4.
Okay.
I don't think it will be any more than that
Interesting.
because I think
Okay.
a lot of the films on my list are very specifically me films that I think you wouldn't either
Yeah.
you haven't seen or you just didn't put on.
Okay, yeah. All right,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Do you want to
Yeah.
kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So,
So are we going to do the system where if you say it and I've got it on my list, then we wait until the other person said it?
yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that, yeah. And also, this is going to include a couple of films that were UK releases this year, but international releases last year. You remember them? There was a couple. There was like Tar and Fablemans and stuff like that.
I wouldn't count them, but fair
Okay,
enough.
Well, speaking
You already
of,
made
my
your
number
list.
10 is The Fablemans.
Whoa!
Crazy.
I haven't seen it yet.
No?
No, but it's one I want to see. It looks
Yeah.
really good.
It was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
It is Steven Spielberg, but it's not like his standard like action-y kind of films.
No, it's like the story of his childhood, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's about, the relationship between him and his parents and between his parents and what's going on there and like how their marriage is deteriorating and also the story of him becoming a filmmaker
Yeah.
and learning to love this craft and also the classic of his parents being like, well, it's not real, is it? Get a real job. Which is very relatable.
Yeah.
And fun.
And it's interesting because his dad is Seth Rogen. And that must have been tough growing up.
It wasn't. It was Paul Dano.
I could have sworn it was Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen's in it, but he's not his
Oh,
dad.
who's he in it?
He's his dad's best friend. Do you want me to spoil it or not?
No, but like if
No,
his dad's best friend.
It's his dad's best friend.
Okay.
And they work together at some tech
Movie
place.
studio.
Yeah. No, he makes like computers or something.
Is this linked into? Is he Steve Wozniak? Is this linked into
Maybe.
Steve Jobs film where Seth Rogen plays
His dad
Steve
was
Wozniak?
called Steve Jobs.
What? It's a secret sequel. A sequel, but with a C in it, not a Q.
Yeah.
No, it's a film that I've had on my list for a while and I've wanted to watch and I just haven't. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have considered that a 2023 film. I would consider that 2022.
Yeah, but we couldn't watch it.
Yeah, but
Okay. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It was very enjoyable to me.
yeah,
It looks incredible, obviously. It's a little bit long, but that's fine. It goes through these like portions of his life. There are times where it completely abandons certain characters and then introduces new characters because they're in a new setting.
yeah,
Which I think is such a struggle to like get away with, but it gets away with it fine
yeah.
because the core story is the family and the family are always present.
Nice.
There was I don't know if you would have seen it because you're not really on Twitter, but there was a bunch of scenes when it first came out. There was a bunch of scenes being like, oh my god, this is all incredible and stuff, and I was like really surprised how late on in the film all of that comes and like how late on in the film all those characters in those scenes are introduced.
Yeah,
But he makes it work. So like there's bully characters and stuff like that who he builds up so quickly and like it's obvious who they are and like, what's going on with them, and it's really interesting.
it feels like I haven't seen it, but it feels like it shares a kind of similar vibe to Belfast.
I really want to watch Belfast.
Is really good. That was in my top 10 the year that came out. I think it was 2022.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel like there's a similar vibe with that being about the director of the film, Kenneth Branagh's childhood.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's definitely like,
There's similarities.
yeah, and
probably.
like within, I don't know. I'm assuming the Fabelmans is more directly about him discovering film, whereas I feel like in Belfast, there's a scene in that film where you see him go to the cinema once, then you see him like acting on stage once, and when those scenes happen, you see that like it's like unlocking something in his brain.
Yeah.
But like the film isn't about that, and so it never delves into it.
Yeah.
But it's just there as like a small moment. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we
yeah.
know Kenneth Branagh became an actor, so it's like,
Yeah. I mean, Belfast is way more about the Troubles and stuff, isn't it?
yeah, it's just like about the area he grew up in.
Yeah.
And
There
him
is-
having to grow up there.
There are like, there's a lot going on with anti-Semitism
Yeah.
in this film. So there is a comparison there, but it is way more about him
Yeah.
learning to love film. And also like, there's these really interesting moments where he's learning to love film, but he's also learning how film can burn you. So like, you know, he captures all of these moments.
Yeah.
And like he's like a fly on the wall for loads of this stuff, and then he starts like discovering stuff by accident because he's being this fly on a wall. And like, not even when he's filming it, it's when he's editing, he's going through and he's like connecting the dots for what's happening.
Interesting.
And it's like how that, you know, being in that sphere and just trying to take in everything, he's actually like uncovering a story
And
that he didn't want to
discovers
uncover.
The Fabelmans.
And yeah, exactly.
And the Fabelmans is like a horror character who stalks him for the film, tries to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy that happens.
It is crazy, yeah. It's crazy you know that and you've not seen the film.
Hey, things get out when it's been out for longer than last year.
So, Alex,
Yeah.
what's your number 10?
My number 10 is... First of all, I want to say, I saw lots of good films this year, but lots that didn't come out this year.
Okay.
Okay? So, like, there are lots of films I've seen that I'm like, this is such a good film, but it's lots of it is stuff I'm catching up on, either from the year previous or even longer back.
It's hard.
So,
yeah.
My list is specifically 2023 releases, unlike some people in this podcast.
It came out in 2023.
And any
in
other
the
year,
UK.
they wouldn't be on a list, in my opinion.
Oh, okay,
Like,
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of them.
I see. For most of the year, I didn't watch any films, and then I think I told you I've
Yeah, you
basically
made
done a film every single day
No,
in
I've not
January.
done that.
So to try and catch up on a lot, and most of the films on this list are ones I watched in January of this year.
Anyway,
Yeah, back to your one.
my number 10, I'm going to hold off because this might be on your list, is The Marvels. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to hold off talking on that one. No, I've not seen
Until
it.
number 1.
Yeah, no, I've not seen it.
Okay, so The Marvels is obviously the MCU film that came out that everyone's saying has killed the MCU.
No, it didn't. Ant-Man did.
I don't
No.
even hate Ant-Man that much. No, I think the one that everyone hates is... Well, people did hate Ant-Man. But the one everyone hates is the Eternals.
Yeah. Eternals
To be
was
honest,
fine.
none of the films have been that bad. They've all been serviceable. I think the
Yeah.
problem has been the oversaturation of the TV series shit. I haven't watched all of them still.
Yeah.
And I'm an avid Marvel person.
I have watched most of them, and I hate most of them.
They're like not good.
I
for
don't
the
know
most
why I
part.
keep getting sucked
There's
into
just too
it.
many of them. I just
Yeah.
don't care enough.
Anyway, I feel like massively
Anyway,
sidetracked there.
what I wanted to say was the Marvels not bad at all.
Yeah.
Like in terms of, first of all, it's 90 minutes. Love that.
Mm-hmm.
What a perfect little amount of time.
Yeah.
The core cast of women are fucking great. They share a really fun like dynamic in the film. It feels in this honestly, and I actually have the same thing about Ant-Man. I think this is maybe where people are getting annoyed at them. Maybe the Marvels has been hit by misogyny. I think it's its biggest enemy.
Yeah.
But I feel like with Ant-Man and this, they both felt like if you like when you're younger and you just buy a single volume thing of a comic, and it's just the story arc. And you're
Okay.
just like reading it, and like you know the characters, you don't know what's happened leading up to this because you're just reading this one story. Like you're not really thinking about, you know the character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes you intrigued about stuff, but they are just singular stories that kind of have their own vibe and just do their own thing. And I feel like both of them have that vibe, and I feel like you are just dropped into the middle of the Marvel story, and I kind of love it for it. Like. It feels like the old MCU did, where it was like they are connected in really interesting ways, and like you don't have to go back and watch WandaVision to meet
Spectrum.
I wish never called that, but like
No.
Monica Rambeau. You don't have to go back and like watch that to really understand her character and meet her, but you can,
Yeah.
and that's cool. But if you watch the Marvels, they tell you everything you need to know about her, and it's like, oh, I get her.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
And the same Captain Marvel is like, you get her deal when you meet her. You're like, oh, she's just a super strong space woman who like is a superhero. And I feel like nobody's giving it praise for that. I feel like it deserves praise for just being a fun film. And like a film that like is a film that I think more so than the first Captain Marvel that like young girls can go and see, and there are female representation in the superhero film that isn't standard female representation. And the fact there are 3 different women in it who all completely different characters and like have a dynamic that like it passes the Bechdel test. Do you know what I mean? Or not is it the Bechdel test? What's it called? Yeah.
And the sexy lamp test.
Yeah, it passes both of those.
Hopefully, yeah.
The actress, I can never remember her name. I know she's really bad, but the actress who plays Kamala Khan is very, very good in it. Thank you. No, but her first name is that.
Yeah, second. Her first name's Iman.
Yeah, she's fantastic in it. It's fun. It's got Beastie Boys music in it. There's a bit.
Oh, there's another certain reference in the film, isn't there? If we're doing spoilers.
What do you mean?
Beast, isn't it, right?
Oh, yeah. No.
Beast and Beastie Boys.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Beast figure's like fine.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what the relevance
It
of
was
it
exciting when I watched it because it was like one of the first post-credit scene I've seen where I was like, oh shit, something's happening. There is a sequence in the film where, so I love Brie Larson. I don't know how established this is on the podcast lore. I'm a big...
So you're not one of those massive Meninist Brie Larson haters?
No, I'm the opposite. Love Brie Larson. I think she's fantastic. And I think it's great that she's pissed off all the incels. So I'm a big Brie Larson fan. And this film feels like it was made for me. Because there's a scene in the film where they go to a planet. And on the planet, they only communicate by singing and dancing. So it's a musical planet. I love musicals. They go down there, and there's a whole bit where basically Captain Marvel or Carol has to like reveal to the other 2 characters, and she's embarrassed about it, that ages ago she came to this planet and to settle a political dispute thing, she married their prince.
Right.
And then she has to like do like a musical number with him to communicate with him to let him know this thing's gonna happen. So there's just this big musical number in the middle of the film, and I was like, this is literally made for me. there's like on the planet they do this thing where they change her like outfit into like a dress for the dance, and when it happens it's got like sparkles from like but 2D effect sparkles like in a Disney film. So this is made for me. And then the Beastie Boys plays. I was like, this is made for me. I really enjoyed it. I think it falls apart a bit at the end, but that's just because like I think maybe it's more to do with the overall MCU stuff where they're like, we need this to happen. It's like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but cool. I think Nia DaCosta did a really good job, and I think the fact that men hate it and like are going so far out of their way to like hate it is so depressing.
Yeah, it's very depressing.
Especially when Barbie came out this year. It's like, it feels like the Marvel took a bullet for Barbie. But yeah, that's my number 10.
Fair enough.
Yeah. What's your number 9, Jake?
My number 9 is possibly the longest film title ever made.
Oh, Oppenheimer.
Yeah. No, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen this one still. I started watching the Mission Impossible films this year, though. Like, I mean, I'd seen the first 3, but the newer ones. So, like, I've watched 4 and 5 now.
Yeah. So, Mission Impossible is kind of the forgotten summer child of the Barbenheimer craze. It came out like a week before.
I didn't know that. That really was forgotten.
And Tom Cruise asked for them to... So there was a thing where like it was in IMAX screens, and then they were like, Oppenheimer's going in IMAX screens. Yeah. So they only got a week in there, and Tom Cruise like begged them to not do it, but they did it. And
he was telling people to go and see Barbenheimer.
Yeah. It was a bit of a shame because I wish I'd seen this on the big screen because it was a lot of fun. There's like 4 bits in the film, right? So there's a bit in an airport. There's like a car chase. Then there's a bit in Venice, and then there's a bit on a train. Yeah. That's the film.
How has this beaten the Fablemans?
Because it's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's got 4 bits.
Yeah, it's got 4 bits, man. So the bit in the airport is like they're trying to get a MacGuffin from some guy. Yeah. And also the police want to get the thing. Yeah. And also the FBI or someone wants to get Ethan. Okay. And also there's another pickpocket, Hayley Atwell, who's present at the airport.
Hayley Atwell's in it? I didn't know that.
And then, there's like, they managed to do such a good job with the like, there's 15 different stories going on here of people trying to get other things and people. And it's so tense for like a good half an hour. And you're like, oh my God, someone's going to get caught and it's all going to go to shit. Yeah. And it's so good, and it has you hooked the whole time. And there's a really good scene where there's like police officers like, where the fuck did he go, talking about Ethan, and in the background he's like running across the top of the building. Yeah, it's a classic Mission Impossible
Where
shot.
does it sit for you in regards to the other Mission Impossibles?
That is a good question. It's probably not as good as the last one, as Fallout.
Okay.
Have you seen that one yet?
No, I've seen Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation.
Okay. I don't remember them super well.
Okay. So I didn't like Rogue Nation at all.
I think, what's the Burj Khalifa one?
The one in Dubai.
Yeah.
That's Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol. I feel like that one's quite regarded as
I like that
a pretty good one.
It's by Brad Bird.
Yes.
And
and the Iron Giant.
Yes. It all comes back around.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
I didn't like Rogue Nation. That kind of put me off and like kind of stopped me watching the next one.
Is it the one where he jumps in the big water thing?
Yeah, because the stunt is stupid because it's like, this is all fake. Like, even if it's slightly real, it's like it's mostly fake. Like the bit where he's underwater and swimming, I'm like, it's not.
He's on the side of the plane though, right?
No, that's the next one, I think.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, wait, I think it is that one, but it's literally it's the first thing that happens. So I was okay. Like,
yeah, the next one is. So Fallout is the one where he's dangling underneath a helicopter on a big ball of gravel.
That's also the one with Henry Cavill, right?
Yeah, where he reloads his arms.
Yeah, see, I want to see that one.
That one's good.
I wish Rogue Nation hadn't.
And it's got Vanessa Kirby in it as like one of the villains, and then she comes back in Dead Reckoning. I liked it a lot. This new one is fairly high up there, I think.
Okay.
I think most of the Mission Impossible films are pretty.
Excited for part 2?
If they make it, yeah.
If they make it.
Well, it kind of bombed. It didn't do well.
There's no way they're not making it. Tom Cruise will fund it himself.
Yeah.
And the Church of Scientology will fund it with him.
Yeah. So after the airport thing, they go to, I think it's Rome, and there's like a car chase where Tom Cruise and Hayley Atwell are cuffed to each other.
Nice.
But like the wrong hand.
Fun.
And they're going around they're in like a shitty car, and then they stop, and Tom Cruise is like, oh, there's like a IMF car here, and they do the classic joke of like, there's a really nice car, and they pan around, and then there's a shitty little car, and that's the one that they get in. And it's like a little yellow
Force
Mini.
Awakens.
Yeah.
The garbage will do.
Yeah.
Is that the line? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
That one's garbage. The garbage will do.
Yeah.
And they turn around.
Yeah, that's a great Daisy Ridley impression.
Thank you.
I really appreciated that.
You're welcome.
It was just a lot of fun. It was very funny. Like, they do a lot of stupid stuff, and I was like, it's just Tom Cruise being a fucking idiot, and not knowing how to drive and stuff like that. It's just very funny.
And Simon Pegg said something sarcastic about it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I think
the ending's like fine. Oh my god, there's a bit that's like, I think at the very end, I think it's like kind of a homage to the opening of Uncharted 2, where he's climbing up the inside of the train.
Oh, okay, wow.
I think, I don't know, I might just be making that up completely, but basically there's a bit at the end where there's a train, the bridge blows up, train goes over the edge, and they're trying to climb up the inside of the carriage.
Yeah.
In a normal film, I feel like you'd be like, okay, they'd climb up it, and then they'd like run away and they'd get out kind of thing, because it's hard to keep that interesting. Yeah. They climb through like 4 or 5 carriages of the train. It's so funny because it's going over so slowly, and so they're going through the kitchen, and then there's like gas and flames and stuff, and there's hot oil going everywhere, and then it's like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, how do we
they're
get
like
through this?
Jumping around and stuff, and then they run over, and it's so like the train's doing that like caterpillar thing, so it's like going over, and then one goes, and then it goes again, and so they like run over the top of the next one, and then they're in the next one as like a piano that's gonna fall. And Hayley Atwell has to like jump over to get out of the way of it, and she doesn't for ages. And then the last one, Pom, what's her face, who plays Mantis? Yeah,
she's great.
She saves them, which is fun.
It's Pom.
It's Pom. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Okay,
I enjoyed that. I feel like the stunts weren't quite as strong as they usually are. He drives a motorbike off a cliff. That's pretty cool.
That's cool, but like, it's not climbing that big building.
No, exactly. Or dangling off a helicopter.
What was the other one he did? Oh, the helicopter one. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gnarly.
But I'm excited. I am excited for the next one.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it a lot.
I will catch up with them again. It was just Rogue Nation really put me off. But do you know what it was about Rogue Nation actually? Was the fact Ghost Protocol sets up at the end like having what's his name in it more. Jeremy Renner. And then he's just not in it. I don't think in Rogue Nation. I can't really remember. I think he might be in it but barely or something. And there was a female character in it as well who, like, it was her first one and then the next one she's just gone. And they never really explained it. And I was like, oh. And I think since then they've reached a point where, like, it is a more consistent, like, cast.
Yes,
it is.
I
think it's like the directors aren't changing as much and, like, I don't think so anyway.
What, the directors of the IMF?
No, I mean like in terms of.
Oh,
the
sorry.
films.
Yeah, it's that. Well, yeah, it's just whoever will let Tom Cruise do fucking stupid things.
Exactly.
And it's that one guy at the moment. Alex, what's your number 9?
My number 9. Let me just double check. I think I know what it is. I just want to make sure. Yeah. My number 9 is John Wick Chapter 4.
I haven't seen it.
I figured you hadn't.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of them?
I've seen the first one.
You've seen the first one,
And
you
I
haven't
liked
seen the
it.
second or
And
third.
I really want to,
Yeah.
but I just have never done it.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
With, John Wick as a franchise for me, 2's my favourite.
2, interesting.
Which
I feel
is
like
funny.
People don't like 2.
No, and when I saw 2 the first time I watched it, I really didn't like it.
Okay.
But since then, and in hindsight with all the films,
Mhm.
2 just for me is like peak. I don't know what it is about it. Something about it's like perfect.
Okay.
1's great, but it's like it's the most dated of them, and the most like you can see it's on a cheaper budget and stuff like that. And
I
like,
quite like that though.
yeah, it's fine. It's just for me, it doesn't stand up as much because of it.
Yeah.
So I think it goes 2, 1, 4, 3
Okay.
for me. My biggest issue with them is that 4 and 3 should be one film.
Right.
And not in terms of like what actually happens, but what really should be happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you chopped 3 in half and you chopped 4 in half and you got rid of the beginning of 4 and the end of 3,
Yeah.
it would be one film.
Okay.
You'd have to change details to make them link up properly, but in terms of actual basic shit that happens in them,
Yeah.
they could easily be one film.
Okay.
And it feels like they've really stretched them both to make them 2 films.
Okay.
And
yeah.
it kind of sucks for that. 4 though is a lot of fun. I wish I'd seen this in it, but I didn't. Keanu's obviously great in it. I think 4 did for me what 3 kind of undid for me, which is that the world of John Wick became cool and interesting again, where there's a lot of cool characters who turn up. He goes to other countries and stuff. You get to see place like not the continental, but like places in the criminal underworld in other countries, and like the quirky characters they have in each of them.
Yeah.
And like it kind of fleshes it out more than I feel in 3 they kind of like do it sort of, but like in a kind of lame way in my opinion.
Okay.
It's just like I don't really buy any of what's going on here. I think it has a good ending and it does end it, which is nice. Like,
so it's done, do you think?
it is. And for a second I heard they were like talking about making John Wick 5 and stuff, but then and after seeing the ending, that made me confused because it feels like it really has definitive. They're like, no, we're ending it. And I think what's happened is basically Keanu doesn't want to make any more, but the studio obviously do. The studio keep talking about it as if they are going to. But Keanu's like, I'm not making any more, I'm old. And like, I can't keep doing this. Unlike Tom Cruise. It's just really good. There's a sequence in the film that's like top down. It's like Hotline Miami. It looks like, and it's so good. Like,
I think
it's
I heard about that.
unbelievably cool.
Yeah.
There's a sequence on like a set of stairs, and like
I heard about the stairs gag.
it's so. But that's the thing with John Wick is they're so funny. They get that like action's funny, and they just lean into it. Where they're like, we can be cool and funny at the same time, and it never pulls away from either of the things.
Yeah.
Like it's not like too. It's never too funny to be cool, and it's never too cool to be funny.
Yeah.
And like the end sequence of the film, which is really good, and I think is the thing that for me pushes it up, where it could have been pretty like average or bad. I think the end sequence of the film, it just becomes this direct homage, like, and in the clearest way to The Warriors, which is one of my favorite films, the film from the 70s.
Yeah.
To the like, it's using shots from it. There's a whole gag about like, it's not a gag, but like in the original Warriors, the whole thing is they're trying to get home to Coney Island. They have like they have to survive the night.
Yeah.
Through New York, because all these gangs are trying to kill them. John's trying to get to this one place, and he's got a certain amount of time to do it, and everyone's trying to kill him, like everyone. And so in The Warriors, there's a woman on the radio who you only ever see her lips. She's played by Pam Grier, which is fun, famous actress. You only ever see her lips, and she's on this radio that the boppers, the gangs use, and she's just this cool lady who goes like, evening boppers, and like the Warriors are trying to get to Coney Island, and like telling everyone where they are, sort of thing. And it's a recurring thing. And then she puts music on, and the first song she puts on in the film is Nowhere to Run. Nowhere to run to, baby. Like, obviously a fun song for trying to escape to. And in the film there's a whole thing where they put the contract on John's head at the end of the film when he has to get to his place, and then it uses the shot of the lips on the radio, and it's a woman doing it, and she's like, "Oh, listen up, like, da da da, like John's trying to get to this place, and like you've got this much time to get him," and then puts on a French version because it's in Paris. Puts on a French version nowhere to run to, and it's like directly just that.
Yeah,
and it's so good. Like it really earns the like. It does it so tastefully that it's cool, and and the fact that like people could watch that film and never know about the Warriors and it wouldn't be out of place. Like it works for the scene.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think it's fucking sick. It's a great film. Everyone's good in it. Bill Skarsgård's great.
I do want to watch it eventually.
It's great.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list of series.
You just have to
watch.
get through 3. 3's good. The first half of 3 is very good. The second half, just like when it ends, you're like, ugh.
Oh, okay, okay.
But 4's great. Yeah,
I'm excited to watch it when I get around to it.
Yeah. What's your number 8, Jake?
My number 8 is Poor Things.
I haven't seen Poor Things.
Yeah, it's very good.
Is Poor Things 2023?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are we definite?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So if I look it up right now, UK release.
No.
Okay, hang on. Because your rule.
No, my rules are whatever the fuck I say.
Just bullshit, that's all.
Let me find the release if I can.
The US release, I think, is 20. The UK release is definitely 2024.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, for sure.
The US release is 2023.
Yeah.
But then you're putting films on here that the US
I am, yeah.
release...
I'm doing whatever I want to, Alex.
I hate this.
I can do whatever I want. Yes, it's an incredible film.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to be on my list for 2024.
Emma Stone smashes it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Ruffalo is incredible as a horrid little man.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's playing the opposite of Hulk.
He is. He's a pathetic little man. It's really funny. They introduce him as like this really smarmy, like posh guy.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to take you away on an adventure.
Yeah.
And then he so quickly deteriorates into a little gremlin.
Oh man.
It's
my kind of guy.
Yeah. And he's like, he's like begging and like,
oh god,
it's nasty.
Yeah.
And she like, and it's in a way it's like his own fault.
Yeah.
Because like he's taken Bella Baxter out and like taught her about the world, and then she's like, I'm actually better than you.
Nice.
Like I know my place, and I like you are a piece of shit. And then he suddenly is like, oh no,
what have I done?
Yeah. And really tries to backtrack on it, but it's very funny. It looks incredible. It's weird as fuck, as per Yorgos Lanthimos' other films. It's all the same. What's his face is in it as well? I can't remember his name.
Willem Dafoe?
Yeah, thank you.
I can't believe I actually remembered that.
Yeah.
I feel like I vaguely had an image of him in the trailer.
Yes. So he plays Bella's dad.
Oh.
He's very odd. As
he's
always. Yeah, he's Willem Dafoe. He plays like a mad scientist. Who does weird stuff.
He's something of a scientist himself.
He is something of a scientist himself.
Did it.
It's just really enjoyable. Such an interesting study of like what it's like to learn what society is like and how it functions.
Yeah.
And the people who get fucked over by the system and the people who take advantage of the system and like all that kind of stuff is really interesting. And it's very, very good. And
nice.
I hope it gets some Oscars.
Where does it rank for you with other Yorgos Lanthimos films?
Pretty high.
Better than The Favourite?
I haven't seen The Favourite.
It's the one I've seen.
I've seen basically all the others.
Better than The Lobster?
Possibly.
Better than Killing of a Sacred Deer?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think The Lobster was probably my previous number one.
Dogtooth?
Dogtooth's fucking weird.
This sounds weird though.
No, Dogtooth is another level of weird. I would not recommend Dogtooth to a single person.
It's a prequel to Stafford's Flats.
Oh god, that makes me so sad. I want to recommend Dogtooth, but I just in good conscience I can't.
Yeah, no,
I can't recommend it.
I know what you mean.
It's really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's potentially my favourite Yorgos film.
Wow. Okay.
Potentially.
I haven't seen The Lobster or Killing of a Sacred Deer, but I really like The Favourite.
The Lobster is incredible. Killing of a Sacred Deer, I think, is a little bit forgettable.
Okay.
Because I know that Barry Keoghan's in it. I don't remember much else about it.
Kurgan.
Yeah, all right.
Kurgan. Barry Kurgan. He's here in the room.
Is he?
I'm him talking right now. Me,
Oh,
Barry Kurgan.
I wonder if either of us are going to talk about his film.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything else to say. What's
No.
your number 8?
My number 8 is pretty great. And I think... I forgot the this was on my list. This, I think, well, this might be the 4th crossover we have.
Okay.
My number 8 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Nope.
It's not on yours at all?
No.
Fascinating.
Do you want to see?
Okay.
Do you want me to tell you where it is on my list?
Is it, like, just off? How many have you ranked?
36.
Oh, 36. That's not 10.
Sorry.
Just for the listeners at home.
It's number 18 on my list.
Number 18, wow.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a fan of
The first one.
Into the Spider-Verse. And I went to see this because I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
I went with one of my friends, and I was pleasantly surprised midway, like, not even midway through, like, near the beginning. I was like, oh, I'm really liking this.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoy it as a film. And I think, for me, it's way better than the first one. I can't believe anyone likes the first one as much as they do. It still baffles me. I think, in terms of filmmaking and the animation and stuff, I think the first one's incredible and it's gorgeous, and I completely get the hype around that. Like, it was completely, like, unheard of when it came out, right?
Yeah.
The way it looked. But in terms of the narrative of the first one, I think it's so fucking, like, all over the place.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, nobody shares this opinion, and it baffles me.
I prefer it to the second one, which I think is not a strongly held opinion.
The reason I don't like Into the Spider-Verse that much is because it's juggling being an origin story for Miles Morales, and at the same time, it's just doing all this other shit that it doesn't need to be doing. I don't care about Penny or Porky or whatever the fuck his name is, Peter Porker, or Spider-Noir. Spider-Ham. Peter Porker. I don't care. Like, they're good characters, but, like, they distract the narrative and ruin it. When the story actually should be about the multiverse, Peter B. Parker, and Gwen, who barely gets anything to do in that first movie, in my opinion. Those two characters are really strong, and the concept of it being those two and Miles, and holding off on the super weird stuff, I think would be more interesting. Because I think with this film, with Miles established and the idea of the multiverse established, they can, when he goes to the other worlds and stuff, it's really cool and fun, and seeing that, like, the whole thing of, like, all the Spider-Men being part of that whole thing. It's fun. Spider Society. Like, I like that stuff in this one, and I think it's because the film isn't having to be an origin story for Miles, it's just a story at this point. But that first film is an origin story, and it gets so caught up in, like, the other shit. Like, those characters don't need to be in it, and at the end of the day, it takes away from, like, the supporting cast that should be important. In the same way that Spider-Man No Way Home, the two Peter Parkers who are in that film are really good characters and actually belong in that film. They're not just cameos. Like, they have a story in it. They're side characters. You cannot disagree with me on this.
I think that's a stretch.
No, it's not. They are fully... Even if you haven't seen, like, their films... They are characters, even in and of themselves, in that film. Like, they are just the archetypal Peter Parkers, and that's fine. But they are side characters and part of the narrative. They're not just there to be a cameo. They, like, become part of what the story is. And I feel like the problem with Into the Spider-Verse is that Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, and Spider-Noir are not properly part of the narrative. They become distractions. They're jokes that spend too much time on screen. And I feel like, again, it takes away from Peter B. Parker, who's a fantastic character, who I will say Across the Spider-Verse doesn't do a good job with, in my opinion. Spider-Gwen, stupid name.
Completely stupid name.
But her character, who I think Across the Spider-Verse does so much more justice to than the first one does. And then Miles just gets to... Seeing Miles with his family in the second one, and how much time we get to spend just with... Like, the whole sequence at the beginning where Gwen comes to his universe, and they're just kind of hanging out. And then you get to see him and his family at, like, the party thing they have. Love all that stuff. I was like, I'm so glad we're spending just time with it as well, and it's not rushing through anything. And I think that comes from the fact it's 2 parts. I knew that going into it. I know a lot of people didn't, and it sounds like that, like, upset a lot of people.
I think it did.
Which is strange to me, because I feel like it was such universal knowledge that it was a 2-part thing. Like, it was part 1 originally. I don't know why they changed that. It should have just been called part 1. But
I do like that the next one's called Beyond the Spider-Verse.
It's cool. I like that. For me, it just ended up being like a fun film. The art style's obviously amazing. I just was surprised at how much I got from it in terms of liking it, and I think the emotional beats work. I like the idea of Miles' story of just being like, it leads on from him at the end of the first one where he's like, I'm gonna do my own thing. And like the fact that in this one it is the case of them all being like this is how it works. It's literally about the fact that this is a group of people who are controlling the idea of how the Spider-Man stories work. And this idea of Miles being like, nah, fuck this. Like, even... And it's... the thing I like about it is it's the Spider-Man thing. It's the Spider-Man thing to do. And it's kind of maybe the biggest plot hole of the film, I think.
Because all the other Spider-Man go along
I
with
just
it,
don't
yeah.
fully buy that, and especially Peter B. Parker, who I think they've done completely day. I feel like, basically, Peter B. Parker shouldn't have been part of the Spider Society, I think is the biggest issue with it.
Yeah.
If he had been, like, doing his own thing, like, it seems all the other Spider people are doing, by the way. I think Penny's the only one you see there other than him. Like, Spider-Noir and Spider-Ham aren't in it until the end shot of them with him. And so implying they were not part of the Spider-Verse.
No, I don't think
and
so.
And also the whole thing about, like, Spider-Punk being there is confusing, because his whole thing is he doesn't want to be part of it. Or does he have his own one? I can't remember. Maybe he's not part of the Spider Society.
He kind of is just there. I don't think he really
I like
gives
his
a shit.
character a lot. And I love the fact he pushes Miles to do what he does.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they justify Gwen being there. Like, I understand why Gwen's a part of it and all this stuff. Yeah, and also the whole, like, thing of, like, in terms of really thinking about what's happening in the film logically, the bad guy plot doesn't make any sense. Because it's like, if I'm remembering correctly, the idea is that Miles, the spider that bit Miles is from another timeline.
Yeah.
Like, another universe. So therefore, he's an anomaly.
Yeah.
And the idea of it is that the anomalies destroy their universes or whatever, and other universes, I think, get affected by it, maybe, is what it is.
I don't think other universes get
Basically,
affected.
they're just like, we need to take you...
that universe.
We need to, like... It's that his dad's not meant to be alive, right? Or something like that?
His dad's going to die.
Yeah.
It's not happened yet.
It's not happened yet, but his dad's going to die, and so they're like, that needs to happen. And he's like, I'm not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to stop him.
Yeah.
But then the whole point in it is the fact that Miles is the anomaly, right? Like,
yeah.
Miles being bitten by the spider is the anomaly that ruins his universe. So therefore, if that's the case, then surely it would have fallen apart by now. It doesn't make sense. It's like, it's stupid.
Yeah, there is an element of like.
And
not
surely,
making
if he
sense, but...
exists and that's not made sense, then surely all the other Spider-Men would look at this situation and be like, Miguel isn't right about this.
Yeah.
Miguel's wrong, and Miguel's clearly a madman. Clearly, something else has happened, and I believe Miguel believes it. But I don't get why all the other Spider-Men just go along with it when clearly there is evidence to the contrary.
Yeah,
that's what bothers me about it. And I'm like, well, it's just like the bad guy plot makes no sense for anyone but Miguel, and I buy Miguel buying it.
Yeah.
But I don't buy everyone else following him in that. I think that's weird. But
yeah, no, I can see that for sure.
Yeah.
There are definitely some questionable character motivations in there. For me, it's not as good as the first one, personally. I still really, really liked it.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to, for me at least, it's hard to rate half a film.
See, I don't think it is half a film. I think the fact that Gwen has an arc in it,
you know,
for me makes it a film.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Gwen starts in one place, ends in another. Same with Miles. Like I think both those characters have stories throughout that story.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there is a grander narrative, obviously.
Yeah.
And like I do want to see what happens next. But I think it gives enough. In the same way that Dune did. I feel like Dune also
Yeah. No,
has an
sure.
arc. Like that film starts with Paul as one character and it ends with him as a new character.
Yeah.
So therefore that is a film.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I don't know. But I do see what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean it looks gorgeous, obviously. I love the characters. I love Spider-Punk.
So cool.
And I can't remember the guy's name. The like Pakistani.
Oh
Spider-Man.
yeah, no, he's really good.
That whole sequence is great.
So good.
Yeah, and they're like kind of when they're all helping, and then suddenly, oh no, we can't help in this.
Yeah.
This is a canon event.
Yeah, that's a canon event. Thank you.
Yeah,
so that was what the thing was.
Yeah, so if a canon event doesn't happen, that's what collapses your universe. I think. Yeah. Not the fact that Miles is a anomaly.
No, but it's part of that. Like Miles' thing is an anomaly that's fucking something up.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it and remember.
I don't think it
is a
universe.
It is something like that, I'll tell you, because that's the whole thing with Miles to them is they have a whole thing against him.
Yeah, maybe.
And they're like, you shouldn't exist, and like you're gonna cause all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But it was, it was enjoyable, and I'm excited very much for the second half. Yeah. But it just didn't quite make the cut for me.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Wait, that was my number 8, wasn't it?
Yes.
What's your number 7, Jake?
My number 7 is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
Oh, another one I want to watch.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
It looks it.
It is. It's such an interesting and like heartfelt story about women from 3 different generations getting on with life. It's mostly about Margaret, who's the youngest.
Rachel McAdams is in it, right?
She's the mum, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
She's like it's kind of like in age. So like the youngest gets the most screen time, then Rachel McAdams, then Rachel McAdams' mum.
Okay.
Or no, sorry, it's not her mum. It's the other mum. It's the dad. It's Benny Safdie's mum.
Okay.
Who plays the dad.
Interesting.
Which I was like, oh wow, it's him.
Hmm.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
It's Margaret kind of. It's obviously it's a coming of age film.
Yeah.
They used to live in New York. They've moved a bit more to the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
She's adjusting to that. She's moved away from her grandma, which is really affecting her. And she's the daughter of a Jewish man and a Christian woman.
Okay.
And she's really questioning her
faith. Sort of thing. Yeah. Like.
And like, there's a whole thing that the parents have been like, we're not gonna put any kind of pressure on you. Yeah. Like, it's up to you to choose.
Yeah.
And that's kind of partly what the film is about her exploring religion and deciding what she believes. And then there's also like this surprise kind of Mean Girls storyline where it's like, are you gonna watch it?
Yes.
Okay.
I am going to. I genuinely don't want spoilers for it.
She's making friends at school and making mistakes.
Yeah.
And
classic
stories come about because of that. It's just so good. And like, there are moments in it that really kind of get you, pull at your heartstrings.
Is it kind of like Bird-esque?
Kind of. It's not the same.
Not the same, but
vibe. But it's also kind of is the same vibe.
Is it like similar themes and stuff?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's the Rachel McAdams storyline is really nice about a woman who's moved away from where her work is, and she's decided to become a stay-at-home mum, and realizing actually she doesn't want to do that, and she's having to sacrifice a lot of other stuff because of it.
Yeah.
And then she's also struggling with the relationship with her parents. There's so many different things going on.
Yeah.
And they're all genuinely really interesting.
Okay.
And they're not always what you expect them to be, which is really nice. And it is based on a book, and it's made me very intrigued to go and read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good.
Fascinating. I know that it's a film that's been on my radar for a little while now, but recently my uni grad film, one of the directors on my film, has picked that film as her main inspiration for her section of the film that she's directing. And from what I know of it and what you've said of it, it makes total sense for what we're doing, which is fascinating.
Knowing what I know about your film, I can picture the exact scene that she's pulling from. Yeah.
Fascinating. But yeah, no, I really want to watch that.
Yeah, it was really, really good. What's your number 7?
My number 7 is in my head.
You're not checking your phone right now.
Don't even need to. My number 7 is one that's definitely not on your list, and if it is, I'd be amazed.
Oh, is this the one that you've mentioned already?
No.
Okay.
It's called Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain. Basically,
no, I've not seen this.
No, so there's a comedy group in America called Please Don't Destroy.
Okay.
They are regulars. They have like a digital sketch thing on SNL every week where they just put out a small sketch.
Right.
They essentially are doing what The Lonely Island used to do before they blew up.
Okay.
Like The Lonely Island used to just do the digital sketches for SNL.
Okay.
They're very, very funny. They're a very funny group of guys. It's 3 friends. They randomly made a movie, and I wasn't anticipating anything really from it, because obviously it's just a bunch of guys from SNL making a film, and I was like, yeah, whatever. I watched it with a couple of friends of mine who are like into their comedy and stuff like that, and I can say genuinely it's one of the funniest films I've seen in so long.
Yeah.
I watched it again since with other people, and they also cracked up with it, so I'm convinced it is very funny.
So, is this the highest comedy on your list?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
So it's not the funniest things you've seen for a while.
No, because the other one isn't just a comedy. This is a comedy, like, through and through.
Yeah.
It's somehow... This is a weird compliment, but, like, they've somehow captured the essence of, like, internet, like, sketch comedy in that sense of it being short. Like, the idea of if you watched a short, like, video sketch... The level of the ratio of jokes, I guess, is maybe how you put it. Like how much you're actually laughing.
Joke per minute.
Yeah, almost. Like in the small amount of time, how much you're laughing. They've somehow retained that over 90 minutes, and I don't know how they've done it.
Yeah.
It genuinely is like a magic trick. I'm just watching it. I'm like, I'm laughing all the time. And I'm laughing. If you just took a section of the film, it would be a sketch, and I'd watch it. But it's just back to back. But it is telling a story as well, and they actually do a good job of making it a story. It's just about a group of friends who, it's a classic tale. It's 3 friends. Two of them are kind of growing up. Like one has a girlfriend and he's getting an adult baptized for her. One of them is trying to impress his dad enough to let him own the store that his dad owns currently. And then the third one is like kind of stuck, and he's still being a child. He's playing there's a scene where he's playing poker in VR with 12-year-olds. Like, he's online, like, playing poker with them, and then just gets an argument with them, and they attack him, and he's just like, no! In one of the most realistic uses of TikTok in a film ever, He's just sat using TikTok, and this reel plays in which this woman's like, oh, there's Foggy Mountain, which is somewhere nearby to them that they used to go as kids.
Yeah.
John Goodman.
Oh yeah.
Narrates the film.
Okay.
And at the beginning of the film, he narrates it and says that there's like a compass that leads to treasure in Foggy Mountain.
Right.
And it was left in this like river for like adventurers to find, but instead these 3 kids find it, and it's them as kids. And so then he sees this TikTok talking about Foggy Mountain and how there's a treasure and there's this golden compass, and the golden compass is like next to his bed while he's watching this TikTok, and just swipes past it.
Okay.
And then after I passed it, the next day he's at the baptism, and this woman there is just like, she just says something to him, and while she's saying it, she uses the words friends, compass, and treasure, but like not in like just randomly thing, and then it just kind of clicks in his brain that it just cuts to her and she's looking at him going, friends, compass, treasure, map, friends, compass, treasure, map. And then he realizes the way to save their friendship is for them to all go looking for this treasure in Foggy Mountain with the compass. And yeah, it's a really fun film. Cracked me up way more than it should have. There's also a joke about an eagle that chases them and it doesn't fly. Mm-hmm. It just follows them and then starts running at them, and they climb up and then it just doesn't come up, it doesn't fly, and they're like, huh, that's weird. And that was very funny. And it's got Conan in it. I love Conan O'Brien. But yeah,
that's
10
fun.
10 out of 10, great film.
10 out of 10?
It's not 10 out of 10, but 10 out of 10.
It's number 7 on your list.
10 out of 10, baby.
Okay. If that's what we're going for, yeah.
Tell me, Jake, what would your number 6 be?
My number 6 is actually the last film I watched.
Oh.
It's Anatomy of a Fall.
Ooh, it's another one I want to watch.
Yeah, it was really fucking good.
Is that a 2023 film? No, it is. It is a 2023
sure
film.
It is.
No, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Don't know
It
what
came
you're
out in December.
talking And?
I'm just saying.
What does that
that's
mean?
That's why I'm like questioning it. It came out very late in the year.
Yeah, it did.
But yeah, no, you're
It's
right.
really good.
It looks
was so solid. It's like such an interesting and captivating story about. Do you know what it's about?
It's a court case, right? But there's
Yeah.
no evidence. Like,
So it's like-
it's just witness testimonies essentially.
There's
That's all
there's
they
this
have.
family living out in like the Alps essentially. There's no one around.
Yeah.
The kid is blind.
Okay.
He goes on a walk with his
Yeah.
dog. He comes back and his dad's fallen out of a window.
Okay.
And the mum is in the house.
Okay. So
And it's like,
the
did
mum-
she do it?
Yeah. It's
That's
like
the
if a tree
question.
falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, did it happen?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Kind of,
Like,
yeah.
Did she push him or did he fall? Is
So
that
it's
the
like,
question?
yeah, basically, did she push him or did he fall? And it's a 2.5 hour film
Love
about did she push him or did he
Is it
fall?
based on true story? Is it just
I don't think
adapted
so.
from something? Because I swear it's like maybe a book or a play.
I don't know.
Yeah.
To be honest, I have no idea. It was really, really good. Yeah, it was just really good. It's so captivating, and like the way they kind of drip feed these pieces of evidence into the story at just the right time.
Yeah.
And they do like some really nice stuff where it's like they're in the courtroom and you start hearing a recording or something, and then almost without you noticing, you're suddenly in the scene and it's happening, and then towards the end it cuts back and you're listening to the audio again and you're like, oh my god, yeah, we were in the courtroom. It's like it messes with you so well to like you're so engrossed you don't even notice these things are happening. It's just so solid. And like and they do it in such a way where you're making a decision as you go as
You're
well.
essentially the jury of the film.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, that's how most court case films work.
Yeah.
In the best way,
That's
I think.
cool. I really like that.
Yeah, it's really fun. And then it doesn't really give you an answer at the end as well. So it's like, it's still up to you. You have to decide, which is what the premise of the film is anyway. Yeah. It's so solid, and I would strongly recommend it.
I'm going to watch it.
Yeah.
It's high up on my list to watch.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Nice.
It's only available to buy on Amazon Prime though. What's your number 6?
My number 6, and I'm assuming this is going to be on your list. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Oppenheimer.
It is not.
It's not on your list at all?
No.
What about...
Let me just double check.
Yeah, where is
it's
it?
Not.
It's not at all. Like, not in the 36 films.
Oh, no, yeah,
I was going to say, where is it in the 36? Out of curiosity.
15th.
15th? Fascinating.
Yeah.
You've seen it, though.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Oppenheimer's very good.
It is very good.
Christopher Nolan's obviously a really good director.
Yeah.
I do think, fascinatingly, I think this is technically one of his worst films.
It's his biggest departure from his style.
And I feel like that's the problem with it. Is that, it's just not playing to his strengths. I think fascinatingly, it does do the thing he does really well, which is that 90% of the film's just somebody being like, I need to put a team together. And then everyone's like, why'd you come to me? And it's like, well, you're the bloody best at this. And then he'll do something and it's like, I'll see you on Monday. And it's that vibe. It's Inception, it's Tenet, it's elements of like all the Batman films, like the scenes where he'll go to like Lucius and like he'll be like, does it come in black?
Yeah.
And the next one he's like, and yes sir, it comes in black. And it's like, this is the team, the squad. I feel like I enjoy that.
Yeah.
But then the problem is the film's about the making of the nuclear bomb, and he gets that bit bang on.
Yeah.
Again, the building the team together and the politics of it are interesting.
Yeah.
I think my favourite thing in the film is Cillian Murphy and Matt Damon's chemistry.
Yeah.
And the two characters and their dynamic I think is fascinating. And I think is annoyingly the thing in the film that I think should have been focusing on more, but wasn't. Because I think telling a story about two people with completely opposing views, but at the same time respect each other's views and are able to see that there is like neither of them are necessarily right, they just both have an opinion. Yeah. I think is really something that like we should be more highlighting and discussing in the time where we're all just arguing all the time about everything for no reason. But anyway, instead the film is like about the making of the atom bomb, and then obviously the way America tears down Oppenheimer afterwards.
This is basically a retelling of Doctor Strangelove, but the other way around.
I mean, yeah and no.
How I learned to stop loving the bomb and start worrying.
Start worrying. I think my issue with it is that a lot of the film becomes people sitting in rooms saying stuff. Yeah. But that's not Nolan's strong point. No. He's good at like one-liners and then something happening. And I don't mean that in a dumb way or a bad way, but that is what he's good at. Then if there's a scene with prolonged talking, he just doesn't have the attention span to just let it sit there. So it's like two people talking and it's jumping to like another person talking, and then it'll jump to like a shot of something completely unrelated, it seems. And like it's throwing so much at you that you can't focus on the minutiae of what's happening. And the problem is the minutiae is really important.
Sorry, are you the one that put this at number 6?
Yeah, I really like this film still. I think the middle of the film's really strong. I think the problem for me is that like there's the bit at the end of the film where it's revealed that Robert Downey Jr. is fucking over Oppenheimer.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's one of the big pivotal moments of the film, is the reveal that it's a kangaroo court and he's doing all this stuff. The problem for me is that reveal isn't the reveal that that's happening. It's the reveal of just what's going on in general. Because it got to that bit and he said that and I was like, oh,
that's what's happening.
Yeah. And the film also never explains, and like I don't get me wrong, it doesn't have to explain necessarily, but the whole thing jumping between colour and black and white. So when it first happens, I don't know about you, my immediate assumption was past, present, or something like that, or it's like, but it's not a jump in time.
It's subjective, objective, isn't it?
It's not even necessarily that. It's just when it's from the Robert Downey Jr.'s perspective and when it's from Oppenheimer's perspective. That's what it is. Okay. So like, you see the clearest example being when Robert Downey Jr. tells the story of the Albert Einstein scene where he sees Cillian Murphy talking to him. Yeah. That's in black and white from his perspective when he's really far away, and then we see at the end of the film and we see what actually was said because it's from Oppenheimer's perspective. It's the colour scene. Yeah. That's how I read it. Okay. But I think you're right as well. Like I think it's their worldviews maybe even. Yeah. Like the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is black and white. It's like there's good, bad, or whatever. But then also he's a piece of shit who's like lying. Yeah. I think the politics are interesting, and when you know about it, it's cool. And like I think he does like he is such a good filmmaker that he gets away with it. Like the reveal is cool, even if it was like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this is just what's going on. But the moment at the end where like Rami Malek's character, who pops up kind of out of nowhere during the film, the whole scene of him just shitting on Robert Downey Jr. and like throwing it back in his face.
Louis Strauss.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good scene, and like Nolan's a good enough director that even though I'm lost in the film, kind of, I'm still like, that works as a moment and it's powerful, and I think that's fascinating that he got away with that, because I guarantee most people kind of like me were kind of like, what is going on?
Yeah. Like, I think my biggest problem with the film is the big thing happened way too early. And like I understand the importance of the politics. I wouldn't cut it out. Yeah. Because it's so like you go through this story of Oppenheimer getting so excited and like getting pulled into this mystery of how to do this thing. Yeah. And he figures it out and he makes a bomb, and he's like, then you have to have the, oh shit, I've made a bomb. And it's not just a bomb, it's like a big bomb. Yeah. And it's gonna kill a lot of people, and it's gonna change the world. Yeah. And like understanding the fallout and the implications of that is really important.
Yeah.
And the film spends a solid hour exploring that at the end. I just think that it's such a hard thing to balance where like the big moment is where he makes the bomb, right? That's the big moment, is where the bomb works at the test, and then the film carries on for another hour and a half.
But then I feel like you can't just end it there. Like,
no, 100%.
I get
agree.
what you're saying, but like I don't.
It's like a catch-22. It's like
you can't win.
You can't end the film there, but then you also, if you carry on, I feel like a lot of people probably lost interest.
100%. When the film was announced, I remember the big thing for me was I was like, I have no interest in seeing an Oppenheimer film.
Yeah.
I know about Oppenheimer for the most part, but I don't care to see whatever this film is. But Nolan's the one who made me want to watch it, because I'm like, why does Nolan want to tell this story?
Yeah.
And I kind of get why now, but at the same time, I'm a bit like, I don't know. I think it's interesting because I do think his like jumping around in time and like his love of playing with like that, and the way he's mirroring events by showing them next to each other almost. I think he's really good at that, and I think it really serves a biopic well, and I think it serves this film well for the most part. But I do think it like just kind of got in his own way a bit in some of it, and again, it just doesn't play to his strengths, and I think that's the biggest issue. Is that
very possibly.
It's just not a film for him to make in a way, or like he didn't rein himself in enough when making it. I also think the beginning of the film's really like it takes a while to get going, and it's kind of like
it does. It takes a long.
It takes a while to get going, but at the same time, it's like nothing happens.
That's probably the bit I'd cut out.
It's the bit of him at school and stuff, and then he tries to kill his professor, and it's like, hang on.
Oh yeah, like
that's cyanide in an apple. That's murder.
Yeah.
And like, it brushes over that. And I think it's meant to.
I actually forgot that happened.
Yeah, see, and it feels unimportant. I feel like he's maybe trying to get at the idea that like, oh, what this man's capable of.
Yeah,
like
he doesn't necessarily have a problem with killing.
Yeah, and the fact that.
But then actually, on
and
reflection,
then he ends up
does.
killing like millions of people, arguably.
I guess it is like a microcosm for the film, right? He
But,
he does this thing and then he takes it away.
Yeah, but like, it's just weird. It's such a. But there's the problem is the logic isn't the same.
No, but it's like showing what he would want to do, right? It's like he puts the apple there.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to make the bomb to like destroy. He doesn't want to make the bomb to kill anyone. He wants to make it as a threat. The cyanide apple was him full on being like, I want to kill someone.
I guess.
So it doesn't really fit the vibe of the film.
No,
Because like,
I think
Oppenheimer's deal isn't that he wants to kill anyone. From the beginning, he's like, I want to make this bomb because if I don't make it, somebody else will. And maybe I'll have some control over it. If I make it, we are not dropping it. We want to threaten them with it. But at the end of the day, they drop it, and he does not want to do that at any moment. There is no moment in the film where he's like, "Yeah, let's drop it." Like,
I guess.
And the problem is, the apple is him being like, "I'm full and I want to murder my teacher." And he's like, "I shouldn't." Like, I think there is an intent behind it. I don't think it makes sense, and I'm pretty certain that isn't true.
Okay,
right. I feel like I heard somewhere that like the family were a bit like thinking about that scene, and like. It's apparently, I think it's a bit of a rumor or like a myth or something about him,
right? And
like unsubstantiated as far as we're concerned.
Okay.
Otherwise, I feel like he would be arrested for attempted murder. But yeah, I don't know. But I think it is a very good film, and I think my biggest thing with the film is the fact that with all its issues, the fact that it's still really good and that Nolan gets away with everything he does, I think it shows how good a filmmaker.
I mean, it's a banging soundtrack.
See, I think it's one of the most uninspired soundtracks he's
really.
I think it's fascinating because this is the second film he's done without Hans Zimmer.
Yeah,
because the first one was Tenet. Who's amazing. I love Ludwig.
I love Trucks in Place.
Yeah, I think Tenet's soundtrack in general is fantastic.
Yeah.
I did not vibe with the soundtrack of this film.
Oh,
it was actually many points of the film while watching it I was like, the soundtrack's getting in the way for me.
I didn't like it a lot of the time, but then when you just like see clips on Instagram and stuff, and like people use it, I'm like, actually, I really like these pieces, these specific.
It might
pieces.
be that it's like better separate, but when watching the film, I didn't like it with it.
Okay.
What's your number 5? Are we on 5?
I think we are on 5. Yeah, we're halfway nearly. No, yeah, we are halfway.
Yeah.
My number 5. Yeah. Is Past Lives.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
I know. You've barely seen any of these films.
I told you, there's so much stuff I want to see this year. I haven't.
Yeah, that's why I did a film every day in January.
I know, but I didn't have time to do that.
Neither did I, really.
You did that.
Past Lives was incredible.
Yeah,
I think it's a lot of people's favourite film of the year. I think it's much more of a Jake film than an Alex film.
Interesting.
I think you'd probably like it.
I'm really excited to watch it.
I think it's way more of a me film.
Interesting. We'll see.
It does the classic, someone returns from your past who you had a connection with.
Yeah.
And you're currently with someone else.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
But then it's actually not that at all. And like they address that at a certain point where the husband is like, in this story, I'm the villain. I'm the like the white American man that's trapped you and like
I think I saw that in
taking
the
you away
trailer.
from your one true love.
Yeah.
And like they do such a good job of like skirting around that storyline and doing something different.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. You've probably seen like the iconic line that I think is the iconic line from this year as Everything Everywhere with the in another world I'd love doing laundries and taxes with you. That's like the iconic line from that year. The past lives line is the iconic line from this year, I think. Have you seen it or not?
I don't think so. It's
Okay.
like in past lives I would have loved to laundry and taxes.
Yeah. I won't tell you what it is then.
Yeah, don't.
But there's a line and it's like that's the iconic line from the film.
He looks there and goes, "Sublime!"
That's it.
Yeah,
You nailed it.
I knew it.
Yeah, they watched Barbie and they were like, "Fuck yeah,
Quick,
let's use that."
Grab a camera and record this.
It's just really good. It's like very slow but not badly paced, and it lets you kind of breathe in the moment and in
You
the
just kind of
story.
exist in it.
Yeah, you're going along with these characters and you're enjoying it, and you're like, it gives you time to reflect whilst you're watching the film. Yeah, which I really loved, and it's just really, really solid. I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend it.
Nice.
For the 5th time.
I am gonna watch it. It's again high on my list.
Yeah.
One I really wanted to see in the
strongly-
cinema actually, but I just didn't get around to it.
I didn't even know that when it was on in the cinema.
It very limited run, obviously.
Yeah.
But it did come out.
Yeah, I had to rent it. I spent so much money on films this month, man. It's rough. What was your number 5?
My number 5 is Sisu.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, I know nothing about this film, so I'm very interested.
Sisu, it's a film that I can't remember how I found out about it. I feel like I saw a review for it, maybe, like a reviewer I watched, just randomly, like, it popped up. I believe it's a Dutch film, technically.
Okay.
Though it's spoken in English. And it's got a lot of British people in it, so I assume there must be some link to Britain in there.
Okay.
It's set during World War II, at the very end of it. And it's set in, I believe it's Finland, like the Finland, like when the Germans were evacuating Finland, essentially, they were like backing off, sort of thing.
Right.
The film follows this character who's an old guy. He appears to be, I believe there's like hints that he was like like military in some way, like special forces, like a Finnish special forces officer or something.
Okay.
But he's prospecting. He's in the hills looking for gold.
Right.
He's got a little dog with him. It's very cute. And he finds a massive vein of gold, sort of thing.
Right.
And he digs it all up, puts it all in his little bags, like breaks it up so it's smaller. And then he starts riding his horse back to like town just to go and like cash it in, basically.
Yeah.
And then while going that way, a bunch of Nazi soldiers who are evacuating kind of stop him and then realize he has gold. He kills them all very quickly, and then it turns out there's like a whole battalion of them with like a tank, and there's like an SS officer there, and they all kind of are like, well, we have nothing to lose. We want this gold.
Okay.
And so they just start chasing him.
Right.
And it's one man versus all these like Nazis, so it's a very fun time because it's just him killing Nazis.
Nice.
And obviously that's always fun.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate villain of not just cinema but history. Like nobody's behind a Nazi.
Yeah.
No, it's a really fun action film. The main character never talks in it, except for the very end. He has one line. It's very funny for that.
Okay.
It's very funny in general. It's just, I don't think it had a massive budget, but the stuff it does is really cool, and it's just cool to see an action film. Like, I don't know. It's doing its own thing in a very fun way. It has some really gnarly stuff in it, like in terms of like gore and stuff like that. And I think the use of the time period is really smart and like interesting.
Okay.
And like the whole thing of it being in Finland and stuff. Like the film, the name Sisu, it says at the beginning when the film starts, like Sisu is a Finnish word with no translation, or a Dutch word with no translation, that means essentially like unbreakable spirit.
Okay.
Like that person has Sisu is
Okay.
kind of what you would say.
Yeah.
And so it's just about this guy who like, no matter what happens, he comes back.
Yeah.
And like, it's insane the stuff that happens to him in the film. And it does do a really good job of building as the film goes on with how nuts it gets. That by the time you get to the end of the film, it's fucking ridiculous, but in a really fun way. And it still is on the edge of like it not being insane.
Yeah.
You're just like, this is like it's crazy, but it's not like completely out there. Like it could kind of maybe happen, or at least in an action movie it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really fun film, and just like I haven't seen a film like it in a while. It reminded me kind of the vibe everyone got in a different way, but when like Mad Max Fury Road came out and everyone was like, oh, like this was amazing because it's just like this crazy cool action film.
Yeah.
For me, it's the same vibe, but it's like a really low budget film
Okay.
that like they just crushed it, and like everyone in it's great. Yeah, really enjoyable.
Nice.
Highly recommend it.
I love that.
Jake.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just want to ask you quick. What's your number 4?
Oh, thank you for asking. My number 4 is, I was going to say it's the highest action film on my list, but I don't think it actually is.
Good.
And I don't think you've watched it.
Oh.
Godzilla Minus One.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
It's not one I want to watch either.
It's fucking incredible.
Lots of people have said that.
Yeah.
I just don't care about Godzilla.
I didn't either.
Oh.
My experience of Godzilla is pretty much just the Legendary universe.
Legendary universe?
Yeah, the production company that made it.
Oh, do you mean the
like,
2014 one?
The Godzilla versus Kong universe.
Like, so Godzilla
that
2014,
shit.
Godzilla
It's
King of
awful.
Monsters, yeah.
I hate them all.
So bad. Kong Skull Island's good.
I've not seen Kong Skull Island,
Skull Island's
and it is
great.
technically part of that
It is,
world,
yeah,
isn't
that
it?
is the same Kong, but
I've
like
not
to
seen
think
it.
It's a film on its own.
Okay. They're all shite. I've not seen Skull Island, so I can't. Like,
The others are shite, you're
yeah,
right.
and that's kind of, and I've seen the '98 Godzilla, and it's like, ugh. So my experience with Godzilla is not good.
Yeah.
And this is like Japanese Godzilla. It's just not talked about too much over here because the trailers for the new Empire were coming out, and everyone was like, that's the Godzilla thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of flew under the radar quite a lot. But it was on the Weekly Planets. It was their film of the year. So I was like,
wow, I didn't know that.
yeah, so I was like, fuck it, I'll go watch it. It's on.
I've heard a lot of people rave about it.
I went on my own for the first time ever to the cinema.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, fuck it, it's on tonight, I'll go.
Yeah.
And I just went, and I'm so glad I did. It is
Nice.
so good. I think the thing that filmmakers struggle with characters like Godzilla is finding a story to tell and characters that are interesting that you can root for.
100%.
That's what all of the Legendary Verse ones struggle with. They cannot do it for shit.
Not all of them.
Transformers, they cannot do it.
No.
Because it's like, big creature.
Shia LaBeouf, Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
What are you expecting?
But like, like when there's a thing that's big, they just can't do it. I don't know what it is. They just can't do it. This film is so good. It's set just after World War II.
Okay.
So Japan is broken.
Yeah.
The opening scene is during World War II.
Yeah.
And it's a kamikaze pilot who's essentially run away, and he lands on this little island. And
Sorry, are you explaining the plot of Kong Skull Island? Because this is the beginning of Kong Skull Island.
And he lands, and he's like, "Oh, there's a problem with the plane."
Okay.
And they're like, "Oh, there's no problem with the plane."
They just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then Godzilla suddenly appears and kills everyone apart from him.
Oh, nice.
And one other guy.
Yeah.
Who's like, "This is your fault," because there was a thing where they were like, "Get in the thing and shoot the Godzilla," and he's like, no, I won't do that.
I mean, he lived, so
yeah, exactly. And then he's like got PTSD from that, and he goes back to Tokyo.
Nice.
And he's kind of rebuilding, and he runs into this woman who's like got nowhere to live. She's got a baby. He finds out that it's not even her baby. Some woman who was dying gave it to her and was like, "Look after this baby," and she was like, "I'm literally homeless. What do you want me to do?"
That woman, but
And so they just like, and he's like, "Yeah, all right, you can live in my little squat." Like, he literally has nothing either. It's like a hovel. I think they live in an area that is like a slum, equivalent to a slum, and it's been leveled. There's like nothing left of it. So it's a slum with nothing left. Like, where do you go from that? And they just like move in together.
Nice.
And they rebuild their house, and he gets a job.
Godzilla never turns up for the rest of the film. He's only
honestly, and they like rebuild the house, and he gets a job de-arming sea mines.
Nice.
And this goes on for like 40 minutes, and you're like, wait a minute, this is a Godzilla film.
Godzilla minus one Godzilla.
Yeah. So it's like, and you're like getting really invested, but like he has clear like PTSD, and he's got problems from the war, and for him, it all comes back to Godzilla, and there's this theme of like the war isn't over. For him, at least, it's not over, and it's like.
So does Godzilla just exist? Like everyone in there is like Godzilla's real, and like he's out there.
No, it's like a myth from this island.
Oh, of course, it was an island. Sorry.
Yeah.
But there's one other guy who was there.
Yes.
Okay.
Who knows about it, but no one believes them.
Exactly.
And yeah, so it's like there's a really good theming of like he's like the war isn't over because in his mind Godzilla's still out there. So the war it genuinely isn't over.
Yeah.
But there's that PTSD thing of like the war isn't over because it's still in his head, which is so good, and it infects the whole film. You know, that's like the central theme. There's some other stuff going on as well about him finding a new family and stuff and not being able to accept it because of this war.
Yeah.
And then about 50 to 60 minutes later, Godzilla suddenly rocks up again.
He's like, I knew it. That
They're out on their little boat going after mines.
Yeah.
And they're suddenly like, you've got to go do this thing. And he's like, that sounds like Godzilla. And then it's Godzilla. And he does his big ice beam thing from underwater and blows up a massive warship. And they're like, oh, he's for real. He's
for real.
He's not messing around. Yeah. And then like some stuff's happening, and like they do such a good job of building up Godzilla as like a bigger and bigger threat.
Yeah.
Because he's Godzilla. You know he's a threat.
Yeah.
But like people constantly underestimating the damage that he can do, and then suddenly he shows up in Tokyo, and he goes to this district called Ginza, where the girl from the beginning is working, and he's like, oh fuck, and he like runs over there, and Godzilla does his big ice beam thing. And it looks like an atomic bomb has gone off in the city.
It's a nuclear beam, that's why.
Yeah, and there's some horrid bits in it where people just get wiped out by the debris. God. And then they go after it and they do this heroic, like, they get 4 decommissioned warships to go out and fight Godzilla in the sea. And they do some cool stuff with it, and then he's back in a pilot seat, flying this weird-looking plane. Yeah. And there's these themes of like, he was a kamikaze pilot who failed. He didn't do his duty. He chose to live. When he was on the island facing Godzilla, he chose to not fight Godzilla, and he lived because of it. And now it's like, what is the right choice?
Everything in his head is saying, "Don't do this because I lived."
But then but it's like, I failed to do my duty and people died. Yeah. And
twice.
Yeah. And like, if I do this, I die. But if I don't do this, other people die. And what is the right choice here? Like, what do I do? Yeah. And it's such an interesting like dilemma that he's got to overcome. It's so good.
That's okay. So, like I said, I knew about this film. I knew it existed. Yeah. And I know people liked it. Yeah. But I didn't really have anything. But I will say, after you've told me all that, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah. Also, it got nominated for visual effects.
I didn't know that. It's 1,000 times more interesting now you've said all that.
Watch the video of them reacting to them getting a nomination. It's very funny.
Oh, that's cool.
There's like a table with loads of little Godzilla figurines on it, and they're all like, yeah.
Because Godzilla, obviously, I've seen the original Godzilla, like the old one,
like the 60s or whatever.
Yeah, and like that one directly is about just the idea of like Godzilla is just a representation of like nuclear war and stuff.
Yeah, that's so, like, what it's harkening back to.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And I think like it's cool that it sounds like they've gone back around and like made the film actually. It's not about Godzilla being a cool lizard. It's about other stuff, and then Godzilla is also a cool lizard.
But also, like, the threat, the otherworldly threat of what he is.
Yeah, not making... I assume, is he not a character then, like, in the other world?
He's just a villain.
Yeah, which is good. That's what I want. I don't want to fucking... Yeah. I don't want Godzilla to be, like, the guy who, like... He beats the thing and then he turns around and goes...
Yeah.
Like, gives the thumbs up
it's
and then walks
100%.
Away.
It's about the impact of him on others.
No, see, that's good. I like that.
And there's also this really interesting bit where the US and China and people are like, yeah, we're not helping you. That's a local issue. We're not sending you any aid.
That's fucked up.
But
believe it. I believe it.
Yeah. It's so good.
I
would really, really strongly recommend. I think it's, even though it's only number 4 on my list, it's probably the one I'd most strongly recommend to you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had such a good time with it, and I'm so glad that I went.
Yeah.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is sitting at the door. Come
Who
in,
is it?
Mr. Jones.
Really?
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is my number 4.
I'm surprised I didn't remember that from seeing your list.
Big old Indiana Jones fan. Love Indiana Jones. Hated the 4th one.
I mean, who doesn't?
In hindsight, I don't hate it. I think it does have elements that work. I think doesn't...
Is Shia LaBeouf one of those elements?
I think he's actually alright in it for the most part. I think the inclusion of him is questionable. I think narratively, the 4th one's actually fine. Like, in terms of what happens in it, it's good. I think the alien thing, I'd never really understood why people were so bothered by that. I'm fine with the alien thing. Okay. It plays into the time period of the 50s. Indiana Jones has always been fucking weird. In the 3rd one, he literally finds the Holy Grail. Yeah. And there's a knight there who's been there for 3,000 odd years. Yeah. Since Jesus. Like, Jesus is real. So aliens are fine, I don't give a shit. So that's fine. I think the biggest problem was always the CG and the way they made that film looks terrible. Yeah. Like and it takes away the fun of Indiana Jones, which is that in the first Indiana Jones film, he gets dragged behind the back of a van with his whip, and somebody is actually being dragged behind a van with a whip.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's cool. Is all the action is like stuff that is happening in front of you, and you're like, oh my god, that's happening. And then on top of that, you have the elements of the story being really fun and like interesting, and the adventure aspects.
Yeah.
That's
And he's
the whole
punching
bag.
Nazis.
Exactly. Except for the second one.
Yes.
Which is the worst one, arguably. And you know, the fourth one's the worst one, and then he's punching Russians.
Yeah.
And then the second one, I feel like, is maybe still the second worst one. Like, I think maybe I like Dial of Destiny a bit more than Temple of Doom.
Not for me.
No, Temple of Doom, I don't know, it's definitely a close one for me at the very least.
Okay.
Dial of Destiny for me, I said this to you recently,
Yeah.
but in the opening sequence of the film, as much as I don't like the CG Indiana Jones face, when I was watching it...
Looks like putty.
It does look like putty, right? When I was watching it, I was like, oh, this feels like a scene from an Indiana Jones film. Like, watching this feels like a scene I'd watch from an old Indiana Jones film.
Yeah.
In terms of what's happening, that they're in like a castle, and the whole thing with the train.
I like the castle.
Yeah, and it's like, this is great. I'm loving this. And then the jump forward in time, and I think James Mangold, as much as he's now like getting a name for just making films about characters who are old, like, I know that's kind of become his new thing, but like, he's really good at it. And I think the story element of just taking Indiana Jones, and unlike 4, actually embracing the idea of like, he's an old man, he doesn't do this anymore,
Yeah.
and like, but he's alone, and like, just it, like, they did essentially what the Star Wars prequels tried to do with Han Solo, but they didn't really do very well, which is like, you take this character we know and love, you make him old, and then you have to question what he's even doing now.
Yeah.
He can't be that same guy.
Yeah.
He can't be that rogue, that guy who runs around like it's a different woman every time you see him and all this stuff. He's like, he needs to calm the fuck down, settle down, and the times have completely changed. The fact it takes place in like the 60s, and like the whole thing of him being at the university in New York and he's doing lectures and no one's there, and the irony of like when you go back to the older films and like set in like the 30s, 40s, and how like he had like complete classrooms full of people.
Yeah.
One, because they wanted to like actually learn stuff, and he was a great teacher, and they wanted to know about the history and everything. And then 2, because he was a really attractive man, and so the joke being that all the students like wanted to bang him.
Yeah.
And now looking at the present, where like nobody gives a shit,
Yeah.
and nobody finds him attractive because he's an old man.
Yeah.
And like, I think taking that character and putting him on one final adventure, and the idea of him being pulled into it, and he does want to do it.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't. He shouldn't be doing it. And it's that temptation versus like what you want versus what you need, and then like that obviously building to the end of the film where like obviously he gets the opportunity to live in the past, literally.
Yeah.
And him having to be like, he would have made the wrong choice, like he would have chosen to stay, which is not what he should do, and him being like pulled out of that.
Yeah.
I think it was a really good story in that sense, and I think the time travel thing was a really fun idea that they did really well.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed the time travel sequence.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
It was very odd. I wasn't expecting it, but I was like, oh no, I'm digging this.
I kind of had an issue with like, before the film came out, I heard a thing about, I knew that Mads Mikkelsen's character was a whole thing about him being a Nazi, and like him being a scientist. And obviously during like World War II, there were a lot of scientists who were recruited who weren't Nazis, but were like, basically, you're going to die or you're going to work for us, who worked for the Nazis.
Yeah.
And then when I heard about the time travel thing, correct me if I'm wrong here, in the film, the idea is they want to go back in time and kill Hitler.
Yeah.
But not so that they can stop World War II or anything like that, but so they can be bigger Nazis.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my issue.
More efficient.
I feel like you could have had it be that they were just like, that Mads Mikkelsen was a Nazi, or like a scientist who worked for the Nazis, who wants to go back in time and kill Hitler for the right reasons, but have it be that it's like they shouldn't do that because then you fuck everything up. Like, you can't play with time, you can't play God like that.
Yeah, I guess.
I feel like
I feel like that's a different story though.
But then, like, what's the difference? Like, because like I feel it just makes his character more interesting. Because otherwise, he's just, I'm the mega Nazi, and it's like, I don't. Why do you have to be the mega Nazi?
Yeah.
Why can't you just be? Well, it'd be fascinating if he was a scientist who was like, I want to go back and kill Hitler. And it's like, oh, well, that's good, but I can't let you do that.
Yeah.
Because, like, who knows what the fuck would happen?
Yeah.
I think that's 1,000 times more interesting than, like, just, I'm the mega Nazi. What are you going to do about it? I'm so Nazi, I'm going to kill Hitler. Like, yeah, I thought that was stupid. And I thought it would have made for a more interesting idea if it had been I don't know. That he was
I don't know. I thought it was quite funny when they revealed what he wanted to do.
Yeah, it just baffled me a bit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, why?
Because they played it like a joke, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because he was like, what do you even want to do?
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to go back? And he was like, because I want to kill Hitler. And he was like, oh, okay. And he was like, so I can be a bigger Hitler.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, right.
Don't.
maybe don't do that, please.
I don't know. I feel like stupid. And I feel like it would have played more into the themes of like living in the past and like regret and stuff like that, right?
Maybe,
like, if he had been like, and don't get me wrong, there is still, I guess, regret that he wasn't a bigger Nazi. But like, I don't know. I think that's stupid.
No, he didn't regret that. He was annoyed at Hitler for not being efficient enough.
Yeah, which I feel like doesn't play into it. Like, I feel like again, if it had been about Mads Mikkelsen being like, I regret not doing something back then.
Yeah, no,
so
very
I'm gonna
possibly.
fix that. And like again, that plays into the whole idea of indie. Like this whole film is like him just being like, I regret so much.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, this film was rewritten like 2 times, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah,
because Phoebe Waller-Bridge was brought on a bit later.
I really like her in it. I think she's great. I think she plays a really fun character, and I like her dynamic with. You didn't.
I'm not sold on it. I don't hate it.
See, I forget that you're a misogynist.
I am a massive misogynist.
I forget that.
I just don't.
You didn't even have the Marvels on your list.
I had Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. That was my feminist film.
Yeah, because God's in it.
I'm not convinced that she was the right casting. I like the character and everything. I just don't know if she was quite right for it.
I think she's so good.
I don't know. Because, like, I love her in most stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like, Fleabag is fucking incredible. I don't know. I just don't think this was the right thing for her.
That's fascinating.
And I think she's a very talented writer.
Yeah, no.
She probably made this film 100 times better. But, yeah, I probably would have cast someone else.
Interesting. Very interesting to know. I think she's great. Yeah, I just think it captured the fun for me of an Indiana Jones film. I think that's the main thing I got from it. But then it also, I think James Mangold's like his ability to like tell these stories and the way he's telling them with like not looking through rose tinted glasses, but like actually looking back on them, I think is really effective. And I think he didn't do as good a job as he did with Logan, but then Logan's like lightning in a bottle in my opinion. I think that was just like a perfect storm of stuff that like in terms of the casting of everyone, the timing it came out, and like Hugh Jackman's incredible in it. Yeah, I think it doesn't quite capture that same energy, but I think he managed to make an Indiana Jones film that felt more like a Steven Spielberg Indiana Jones film than the last Spielberg Indiana Jones film. Yeah, which I think is impressive.
I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed this film.
It's so fun. Antonio Banderas also in it for like a weird, like he just turns up in it, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But it's like, he's never been in one of these films.
They play it like he has been.
Right? Because it's reveal. And it's like, oh, it's Antonio Banderas?
Yeah. But it's very funny.
Hang on. Yeah. I love it.
The conversation around this film was that it was shite.
Yeah, which
everyone hated it.
It was not.
And then so I was really loath to watch it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah, I'll just do it. I like Indiana Jones. I'll just do it. And I was really pleasantly surprised.
I can't believe people hated it as much as they did. It baffles me.
Yeah, it's weird how much people don't like it.
It's so weird. I don't get it. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's amazing in the same way as like the old Indiana Jones films.
No, I mean it's like 28th or something on my list. But I really, there's a lot of films on here that I really like. Yeah. And but I really like it. It's a good film.
It's a fun film. Jake, what's your third film?
Oh my god, we're on number 3. We're on the top 3.
Big boys now.
My number 3, I don't think you've watched it. How to Blow Up a Pipeline.
No, I haven't, but you mentioned it to me.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, I've seen a trailer for it at some point, but like a while ago.
Okay.
I cannot remember anything. I think, is it based on a true story?
Not that I know of, but it's probably. It's at least based on like, recent activism and things like that. It's like in tangent to the truth. It's really solid. Yeah. Like, it is what it says on the lid kind of thing. It is about how to blow up a pipeline. That's the whole story. It's about a bunch of people who come together and they're like, how do we do some damage?
How do we blow up a pipeline?
Yeah, and they settle on blowing up a pipeline.
Yeah.
One guy's really good at making bombs, which is really funny.
Is it played for laughs and stuff?
No, it's deadly serious.
It's never even slightly funny.
No, not really.
Fascinating.
Yeah. One of the leads in it is the same person who plays Bobby in Conversations with Friends on BBC iPlayer. I
haven't seen that.
It's not very good. It's not as good as Normal People. She was the only one I recognised. Okay. I didn't recognise any of the other actors.
Yeah.
They were all very solid. One guy like he lives in Texas.
Yeah.
And a private company wanted to buy his land to put an oil pipe on.
Yeah.
He said no, and the government said you have to, and they forced him to sell that land.
Yeah.
So he has a vendetta against them. He's like, fuck you guys.
Yeah.
You stole my land.
Yeah.
That my family have owned that land for hundreds of years, and you stole it to build a fucking pipeline.
Private property is inherently theft, but
Yeah.
he's not a hero in the story. I'm just saying.
But like, you know, like they give, and like there's one character who's like got a terminal disease because she lived next to a power plant or like a energy some kind of coal plant for her whole life, and like there was acid rain and shit like that, and it fucked her up. And then there's like one person who he's indigenous, and all the white people have come up and they've just built loads of like factories and shit in his land, and he's like, fuck off, and they're like, no, we shan't. And he hates them for it. And it's like, you know, these characters, they have such simple but like very relatable and like very easy to believe,
easy to root for.
Motivations for why they want to do this. The music is very akin to Tenet. It's very like electric and like that kind of vibe. Like is always there.
They're doing a plan.
Yeah, they're doing a plan.
They're doing a plan.
And the way it starts is just like it's just straight in. Yeah. It's like they all meet up and they're like, "Are we doing this?" And they start building bombs and stuff.
That's cool.
And then it gets to certain points and something big will happen for one character, and then they'll flash back to why they joined.
That's cool structure. I like that.
I really like it. And so you slowly learn a bit more about each of these characters as you go along, as they're like unraveling their plan to blow up the pipeline. And then it kind of doesn't let up. Basically, for the whole runtime, you're just like so sucked into it, and since something always happening, the tension is always so high, and it's really short as well, which means they've obviously cut a lot out of this to make it so punctual. I love a short film, which is one of the reasons I love it. Because it's just in and out, and it says what it needs to say. My only criticism of it is there's like a big speech at the end about why they do it or whatever, and like the conclusion of that speech isn't very strong. Like the sentiment is strong, but the actual words that they say don't convey that. You know, it's not like a quotable line or anything like that. Which is kind of a nitpick, but it's like the sentiment you're left with at the end of the film, which I think is important. So that's my only criticism of it, is that line is a little bit weak.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, other than that, I loved it, and I would say watch it.
I want to watch it now.
Yeah. Not as much as Godzilla, though.
Okay.
What's your number 3?
My number 3 is a film I was very excited about going into the year. Is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem. Do you have it on your list?
I do. Yes,
okay,
I do.
Figured
have it on
you
my
did.
list.
So we will hold off on that. What's your number 2? Pete?
My number 2 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem.
See, at one point I remember you saying it was at number 1, so I'm very curious what's happened.
It was number 1. For a long time. It's because I haven't watched any films.
So I kind of wanted you to talk about this first, because you don't have much of a thing for the Turtles.
Not as much as you. No. I definitely grew up on the Turtles, though. There's a video of me opening a Christmas present in like 2005, and it's the layer, the massive.
Wait, which one was it? The one with the manhole on the top of it,
and it's a lift.
Yeah, I had that.
Yeah,
and it had the kind of door that swapped around. Yeah, had like weapons on, dude.
Yeah,
and the little subway, the broken.
I think so.
Subway car. What a fucking cool toy. Yeah, I had that as well.
And I lost my mind when I got it.
Right.
I was like a 7-year-old. I was like, ah. I was so excited. Yeah, I fucking love the Turtles.
Yeah.
I don't think as much as you do.
I do love them.
Because I've not seen the live action film.
1990 film is so good.
But I love them a lot, and I think that they've not had a good run in the last 10 years.
No.
I think I grew up on I think it's a Cartoon Network animated series.
I think it's Nickelodeon. I think it's always been Nickelodeon. In terms of other than the original old one, which I don't know what that was from. That might have been Nickelodeon, but I don't think so.
So I grew up watching that.
Yeah, see, I think
with April that's like in all yellow and
she's always in all yellow.
Bob ginger cut.
Yeah, that's
Is it always the same? Okay, all right.
So look, I think I also watched that, but I think my first introduction to it was I had a VHS of the 1990 film that I got at a car boot.
Okay.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? Because green men poking their heads out, and it's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which I knew of.
Yeah.
But I was like, what is this? one of the coolest films of all time, the 1992 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film, full of pearls of wisdom.
I lost my size.
I lost my sight. And he goes, a cricket bat? You gotta know what a crumpet is before you know cricket. Pearls of wisdom all over the place.
Yeah.
Great film. But yeah, since then I've adored them. I think they're the best thing ever. Like, they're just like, there's a turtle for everyone. There's only 4 of them. There's one for everyone.
Yeah.
How beautiful. Like, Splinter's great. I think just the world they created for this weird thing, and like how they're funny but they're cool and they're also adorable.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I loved it. Yeah,
it's cool.
The
And then,
Michael Bay-ish films were shite.
I think the Michael Bay ones, I will give credit to the actors who played the turtles. I think they did a pretty good job. And I think when I always remember there's the scene in the film near the end, the first one, where they're in the elevator and they're going up and they start playing like music, essentially. Just
it was like the big
their,
thing at that time,
like,
wasn't it? To do a
like,
scene in a lift.
It was actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was for a time.
2014, I think it would have been. Mikey's tapping his nunchucks and they just start beatboxing, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the Turtles.
Yeah.
And then that's one scene in a hour something movie. And it's all about the Turtles. It's like, how is that the only scene where they're the Turtles? Anyway, when I heard that they were making this film, I saw that it was Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, and I'm a huge fan of Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. And the first thing in my head was, there's no way that Seth Rogen isn't a massive fan of the Ninja Turtles. So I feel like I trust him to do something, especially in terms of like the projects he's been working on recently. I think he's got a really good track record.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's done The Boys recently. It was produced by him.
He did Invincible?
He did produce Invincible, I believe, as well. And there was something else he did. But I trust him. I think he's a fantastic writer-director. And like, I was very excited for it.
Yeah.
Then the trailers came out and I saw the style of it and I was like, oh my god, this looks amazing. Like, they've just taken I think what's cool about it is they've not done what Spiderverse did. They've just taken the idea of what they've done and like went their own way with it. They were like, we can do more with animation than just 3D animation. Like, we can make it look weird and unique. Yeah. And with this, it's a very like kind of like, it almost looks like it's a mix between hand drawn and 3D animation in a really weird way. And I went to see it and it's fucking amazing.
It's so good.
I think the thing that's interesting about it is, and I think I said this when we left, is it didn't give me what I wanted. Okay. When I went into that film, there was what I wanted in my head. I was like, I want to see the Ninja Turtles, I want to see them do this cool stuff. And then I left it, and I was like, it didn't actually really give me any of that. But I fucking loved it. Yeah. And I think it gave me what I didn't know I wanted, which is even more impressive.
Yeah. I didn't really have any expectations going into this, by the way. Yeah. I'd watched the trailers and stuff, but as I've kind of said, like I do like the Turtles, not as much as you. I watched the trailers and I was like, I'm interested in this, I want to watch it, but I don't really know what to expect.
The fact the Turtles are actually played by teenagers for the first time, which is to say that's taken this long, is fascinating.
Yeah, they nailed that aspect of
it. They
it.
really did. Those 4 guys are so fucking good, and their dynamic is so on point. They're so funny. I'm reading that Seth Rogen made them, like, originally they were recording the lines in a booth together. He said he wanted them all together because he was like, that's how we're going to get the best thing out of them. And he obviously likes to play with, like, improv and stuff. And then he walked past, there was like in the studio they were recording in, there was like a little base, like a cupboard essentially, where the 4 boys would like sit and eat their lunch. And he'd walk by and he'd hear them talking about the craziest shit because they're like 4 teenage boys. And he said that as soon as he noticed that, he had them move the recording stuff into that cupboard and had them record it in there. And it shows. Like he did the like he's a genius. Like because that film is held up by those 4 boys and like how fucking funny they are, and the dynamic between them is so good. Yeah. And the script is so on point. And the idea they just took this story about, like, they just nailed what the Turtles are about without even like the fact that there's not been a Turtle story about what this one's about. Yeah. But this is though what the Turtles are all about. Yeah. Which is fascinating. They've never been broached before because it's always been too busy in the kind of like, well, it's got to be a story where they're ninjas. It's got to be this and that. Whereas I feel like Seth Rogen was like, nah, fuck it. It's a story about these 4 teenagers who are finding their place in the world and feel alone.
Yeah, they went more for Teenage Mutant.
The ninjas. And the mutant thing is just feeding into the teenage thing. It's just these like 4 guys who are like, we don't belong. Yeah. And then finding their people. But then the idea that their people have a different idea to what they should be doing than they do. And then having to like uphold their own morals. Yeah. And that's a big thing. Yeah. And the fact that this is a real story about the fact that like at the end of this film, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles go to school.
Yeah.
That's the big payoff, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, never even in my wildest dreams I ever considered the idea that would ever be in a turtle, like, story. And the fact that it, like, works. Like, that it ends, and I'm like, yeah, I buy it, and it's cool and fun and interesting. And
No, I love that.
I want to see what happens next. This is fascinating.
100%. I'm a little bit concerned because they've commissioned, like, a TV show and more films.
I trust Seth Rogen. It's what
I do,
I'm
yeah,
sitting on. Like, I'm holding on to that.
It's kind of because the TV show will definitely have a lower budget, so I'm not sure it will look
no,
quite as nice.
That bothers me.
Which will bother me, but like, yeah, I definitely trust him as well. And this film was just so good, that it would be hard to let it down.
Mondo Gecko in general, I feel like brings it up so high.
Yeah, honestly,
Rudd's incredible.
All of the
mutants
are so good.
Yeah,
they're so solid.
What's the Ray guy? Is like
Ray Fillet.
Ray Fillet.
Yeah, that's all he says.
So funny.
It's so funny. The running gag about like being milked.
Frog. Yeah, the milk joke is so
because you're like,
good.
This is not gonna pay off.
Jackie Chan as Splinter. He like made that character 1,000 times more interesting, and like just playing him as this like single dad character.
Yeah.
Is so
and
good.
I love the way that they learn kung fu.
Through the videotapes. And, like, it's so clever. The scene where they go back to the sewer and he's put together the party for them with the Chris's.
Yeah.
Like the Chris Pine, Chris Pratt, and Chris Evans. I think he's got the like as 3 Chris's there. And it's just him trying really hard to make them happy.
Yeah.
And the fact that at that point they're lying to him about the fact that they are going and doing stuff, and like how hard that scene hits. Because you're like, you feel for everyone in that scene. You're like, oh fuck. Like
the scene that gets me the most is Splinter's like
origin.
No, the climax to Splinter's arc.
Oh, where he like
where he's like, I'm that guy. I'm the one stopping you.
He's
he's Superfly.
Yeah, and then he's like, yeah, because then Superfly says to him like, we're the same.
Yeah,
and he's like, don't say that.
Yeah,
and like, yeah, no, I feel that when he goes on his own arc where he realizes like, oh no, I've been sheltering them and like I've been scared.
That's the bit,
and like that's my problem.
That's the bit that really hit me.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, because the climax to the Turtles story was good.
Yeah,
but like the Splinter one, I was like, oh man, it's like we're doing a Splinter arc as well. We're not just abandoning him, pushing him to the side. It's like he gets the moment to be like, I've done the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna change that now, and I gotta trust my boys to do the right thing.
I love the thing at the end of them realizing, like when they're like, oh, they think we're villains. And he's like, no, they think it's worse. They think we're monsters. And then he says, then Leo goes, April was right. We're doing this for the wrong reasons. Yeah, like it's not about people liking us. It's about doing the right thing. Yeah, and then the fact that they then all get their moment. There's that scene where they come together as a team, and Leo just is like peps them all up, and then he's like, "We're gonna go in loud, like to like Raph," and he's like, you've watched the most anime of anyone in the world probably. What can we do about this thing?" And he's like, "Oh my god, it's Attack on Titan!" And then I can't remember what Mikey's. Raph gets the car right. Like I think he shoves he tips the car over for them, so it's back upside like the Pete's truck. I can't remember what Mikey's thing now was. Mikey had a thing as well that he says, oh, it's improv, I think. Like, who's better at coming up with a plan than you? Like, you're so good at improv. And then they do all that, and then I remember watching that scene and be like, oh my god, this is so cute, because they all get their moment, and Leo's helping them all. And then it's the cap off of it, it's Raph turning to him and going like, hey, that was the first time you ever sounded like an actual leader. Yeah. And then Leo being like, oh man, I did. Like, you ruined it. Like, it's so good. I love those characters, and like, I think they did such a good job of translating them.
I think it's very cliche and maybe a bit cringe, but I really love it when you have a story where the main characters are fighting someone and then like the public help.
Oh, it's so good. It's
like,
the classic
New
York
so
thing.
stupid,
It's always New York.
Yeah. Like they do in Spider-Man 1 and
the buildings
stuff.
and then like all that. No, you're right. It's a great moment.
Yeah.
I think it's because it feeds into again what the story is, which is like they need to stop trying to impress people and just be themselves. And when they do that, people start like going like, oh wait, like we can help. Yeah. And it's Splinter's arc again, because it's the moment where Splinter's on the ground and they're like, hey, like let me help you up, like with the turtles. And like, I just fucking love it.
It's so good. It's so good, and it's like genuinely really funny.
100%.
It's really, really funny. Yeah.
Oh my god. The opening scene, and that's when you asked me at the beginning about moments and stuff, is that opening scene where it's like, it's the bit when they're talking about the plan to go and get all the stuff, and the fucking line where he's like looking at the list and he's like, and party bag size of Cool Ranch Doritos, and then like Donatello goes, yeah, and it must be really important because he underlined it twice. It's such a stupid joke, but it's so funny, and I feel like that's the moment that I was like, they've nailed it. Like whatever this is, they've done it, and every time I've seen it, the person I'm with when that line hits laughs.
Yeah.
Because it's so funny. And that's the moment I feel like people ease into it because you're like, oh, this is what this film is.
Yeah.
I fucking love it.
I also love that they had a live action film.
Ferris Bueller.
It was really
and the Kung Fu videos.
Yeah,
like, also
I always
action.
find that very funny.
It's very, especially when everyone in the world is clearly not live action.
Yeah. And then moment of the film, and other than the Splinter thing, the cool moment of the film is the montage where they're going around. Yeah.
Very good.
So good.
So well
Such
done.
like an interesting way of framing it.
Yeah.
Of like
also the sequence in the garage before that where they have their first kind of fight.
It kind of they link together, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. It's the bit he's like, I dream of fighting every night. And he's like, you got a problem, man. He's like, it's not a problem. So good.
It's so good.
Fucking love it.
I love it. Yeah, I think it looks incredible. The action is incredible. It's genuinely funny. A lot of the arcs really, really hit home. Yeah. It's just really solid, and I'm very excited to see what they do with it next.
100%.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Oh, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
I forgot that it wasn't on your list yet.
I love Guardians of the Galaxy. It's one of my favourite film franchises in general, I think.
Okay.
I think the character... I think James Gunn is one of my favourite writer-directors in general. I think he's fucking outstanding. And I don't know what it is, but to me, there is just something in his storytelling that really links with me. Mm-hmm. And that, like, all his films directly feel like they speak to me just because of, I don't know, must be something to do with who he is when he writes them, that just like, links into me. And I'm like, no, I 100% get this. And I love this. And obviously, there was a lot riding on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. It's the final kind of story with he's telling with them, and it's the capping off of a trilogy. And the biggest thing for me was it's basically all about Rocket Raccoon, who, like, as far as I'm concerned, is maybe one of the best like fictional characters to have like existed in the past however many years. Like, there's something about that character, I just fucking love him on so many levels, where I feel like he's just not just he's cool, like he's a fucking raccoon who talks and like likes guns and shit. That's pretty cool. But then outside of that, just like emotionally who he is, and like I love how each of the films has kind of broken him down to his core. Where like the more you watch him in each film, it's like you kind of learn more about who he is. And then this film was just the nail in the coffin of just like, here's everything you ever need to know about this character and how heartbreaking it is. Yeah. But it's funny because like when I watched this film, I was crying from about 30 minutes in.
Oh, really?
And then I was like, I never stopped crying really, because it was just I would like kind of start to stop and then something would happen, it would make me cry again. Yeah. And it wasn't like the stuff with him when he's like a baby is sad, but it wasn't that. It was like Rocket's whole deal, and it's put in best in the second film, which I still prefer personally. But I feel there's more going on there than just like the films. I think it's just I really connect to that film. But in the second one, there's the line where Yondu says to him, "I know you push away everyone because you know how big that hole is, and you're scared that if you let someone in, you're just going to lose them again." Essentially, is what he says to him, which explains all of Rocket's character, why he's such an asshole all the time. And in the third film, there's a lot of that film is to do with the fact that obviously Rocket's like out of commission, like he's not there. Yeah. And there's a scene, I believe it's when Gamora is basically saying like, "Oh, well, we're fucked, we can't do this," and then Pete is like, "It doesn't matter, we're doing it." Yeah. Like, and he starts having an argument, and then it's this whole thing of him being like, basically it's the whole idea they're doing this entire mission, and all they're trying to do is save Rocket. Yeah. It's not about saving the universe, it's about saving Rocket. Yeah. And the fact that Rocket's not awake, he's not conscious, and he doesn't know any of this is happening, but if he did, how much it would mean. Yeah. And that killed me. And I was watching it, and that made me cry, because I was just like, yeah, it's just this weird emotional connection to this character where it's just like, he doesn't, if only he was awake to see this. And like, the idea of that made me really sad. And then like, and it's this thing of just the unspoken stuff between people and like friends and stuff, like the fact that Peter and him argue all the time in those films, but at the end of the day, they love each other, and they would do, like, Rocket would do the exact same thing that Pete's doing for him.
Yeah.
And I think that's beautiful, and I think the fact that, like, those characters that, like, James Gunn makes that believable, and the actors sell it so hard, like, in those films, is amazing. And, like, it's a fun film in so many ways. It's so fun, but the emotional core of it is so strong, and I think that's what makes those films special, is that each of them, James Gunn is talking about stuff, and, like, it's personal to him. And I think that's amazing. And yeah, I think it's beautiful. And that final moment of him with the little raccoons when he finds them.
Oh, yeah.
And then the moment also, again, it's the unspoken stuff. There's the moment where they're like, oh, we're getting everyone off the ship. And they're like, we've got everyone. And then Rocket's no, about the animals or something.
Yeah, he's like, no, we don't got everyone.
Yeah, and then Pete for a second is like, oh, no, something. And then Rocket goes, Pete, and he like looks at him and he goes, we've got to. And it's the way he doesn't say that he's like, I'm emotionally invested and I need this, but Pete recognizes in him, because they're best friends, he recognizes that this means something.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And I fucking love that so much. I think it's so lovely. And yeah, I just love all those characters. They're so well written. That fucking ending with that song, Dog Days.
Oh yeah.
So well done. And like the payoffs there are so beautiful, like with Pete finally going home. And like meeting his granddad, I thought that was so well done. The moment of Batista, Drax, kind of like not reveal, but like the moment where Nebula's like, you weren't ever meant to be a warrior destroyer, you're a dad.
Yeah. And
the whole reason, when you think about it, his whole life has been about the fact that he wants vengeance for his kid. Like,
yeah.
And he's just a dad. And yeah, I think it's so beautiful, and I think James Gunn's a genius when it comes to writing, in my opinion. Like his character work is like unparalleled.
Yeah,
and I
fair
think
enough.
he elevated it beyond what it needed to be, if that makes sense.
No, I enjoy the Guardians films a lot.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this one a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything particularly I didn't like about it.
No.
The CGI is sketchy at places, but it's the same for all of the Marvel films. There's nothing new. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the arcs that they all went on. I really enjoyed how because there was a lot of talk about how James Gunn didn't know that they were going to kill Gamora in Infinity War.
I don't know how true that actually is. It sounded like he knew.
Okay. Well, he obviously had to know to write it, but it was a departure from what he wanted to do, I think.
I think so originally, but then I think he's always spoken about, like, because he was going to kill Gamora in 2.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, and like he just didn't, and he said that there was never a moment of like him doing that and then them turning around and being like, you can't do that because we want to do this. Like that never happened to him.
Okay, but I like where they went with that change. You know, of like he just has to move on.
Yeah.
And she has to move on as well.
Yeah.
She's not the same person.
I did really love how it was about him getting over it. And like there was a hint of the idea of maybe one day they could like connect.
Yeah.
Because they are different. Like she is a different person, but there is something there.
And there was the joke about with Nebula as well.
That's so funny.
Yeah, no, I really, really liked it. And
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they shamelessly bring them all back in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, fascinated to see what they do with that, actually.
Yeah. We're on to the number 1 film.
Oh my god, Jake. Do you have any honourable mentions before?
Yeah.
I have one.
Okay.
What's your...
I'm going to go with the one that just about didn't make it into the top 10, and it's called Smoking Causes Coughing.
Okay.
It's a French film essentially about a group of Power Rangers, and it's so
I've
fucking
heard. I can't remember if you told me this.
I probably did tell you about it.
Yeah, it looks really good. I think I saw a poster for it, and I was like, "What is this?"
It's so odd.
Yeah.
It starts out with like a family driving down the road,
Yeah.
and then like the kid's like, "Oh, I need a wee," and he gets out, and he goes over to the edge of a cliff, and he's like, "No way!" And it like pans, and it like goes over the cliff, and it's like all of them dressed up in their Power Rangers costumes, fighting like a cockroach or something, and it's like they're just but it's like so because you know in Power Rangers there's always like close-ups and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so zoomed out. It's just a bunch of guys in latex
That's
beating
really
up
funny.
a cockroach, and it's so funny. And then like at the end of the fight they blow it up, and like they do
the pose thing where they're all posing and it's like
no there's blood and gore.
Oh god.
And like it does the joke where it cuts to every single one of them getting full face of like blood and gore, and then it cuts to the kid at the top of the cliff getting hit, and then the dad's slightly behind him and gets hit, and then the mum's in the car window as she gets hit
Even
as well.
though that's so far away. That's really funny.
It's so funny, and it's so short as well. It's like only just over
For a
an
second
hour.
I forgot we were doing honorable mention. I was like, I can't believe this is your number 1.
It's so weird, and it's just the actual film is just about them on a they go on a retreat to like bond more as a team, and they're just telling ghost stories. That's the whole film. They're just telling ghost stories.
My God, I need to watch this.
But then the ending is kind of weird, and there's also a rat that's like their boss.
It's the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, and he's got like green goo coming out of his mouth. Yeah, and there's some weird stuff with like some of the Power Ranger people fancy him.
Okay.
But then like he's having affairs with like women. Like
what the fuck?
It's so
I
weird.
need to watch this.
It's so weird, and it's like he looks disgusting, but they all like cannot get enough of him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to watch that.
You do need to watch it. It's very weird. And they're like in a bunker, and they open the fridge, and there's just a woman in the fridge who's like got a whole shop, and she's like presents the food to them and stuff. It's so weird. I very strongly recommend it.
Okay.
But it was my number 11.
Interesting.
What was your?
I would say my number 11. Let's do it like that then. Yeah.
Yeah. What's yours?
My number 11, I think, is Wonka.
Really?
I've watched it again since.
Have you?
I really like Wonka. Like, I think so. We saw Wonka together, obviously.
We did. Well, obvious to us.
That's what I mean when I say obviously. We both kind of had similar issues with it, but both also enjoyed it, I think, right?
Yes, it was number 27 on my list.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I think for me, Wonka's fascinating because I think what it is for me is that if you separated the Willy Wonka aspect of it and it was just a Paul King film, I think it'd be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I think if you made a Wonka film that wasn't this film but was more in line with what Willy Wonka was, it would be amazing. I think what we've ended up with is a film that's really good, and I do genuinely think it's really good.
Yeah.
But I think it falls flat because it's just like kind of doing two different things that don't actually go together. Yeah.
This is what we talked about, isn't it? It's like not quite a Wonka film.
No, and it's not quite a Paul King Paddington film either.
Yeah.
Like because it has all the elements. Because I feel like Paul King and Simon Barnaby clearly have like a writing thing where they're just like, well, the character's whimsical. He wears a hat. He has to heist something at least once.
And he really loves a particular thing.
Yeah, and like it does feel like they just did a musical Paddington film, but they didn't use Paddington. And I think that's my issue. Is that I'm like,
okay.
Like this isn't Willy Wonka. Like it fits in, and like it does a good enough job of being that, but it's not. And I feel like it would have been cooler maybe if we had a film that was more in line with Willy Wonka.
And the way that Timothée Chalamet says chocolate is
chocolate. Well, there's chocolate and there's chocolate.
Yeah, it really grinds my gears.
See, it doesn't.
No,
matter
it was
much.
fine.
I think I think he's a bit miscast. I think
100%. I think he signed on before he knew what it was.
I've watched an interview and Paul King apparently cast him before the film was written.
Yeah,
he saw the video of him doing his rap and for some reason was like, "That's my Willy Wonka." I don't fully get it, but I think he's fine. Like, and I think he does do a good job in some ways. I just think he's not quite.
He's not the right casting at all.
I don't think not at all. Because if it was not at all, then the film would be awful. I think Timothée Chalamet does a good job. Yeah. I just think he's not right necessarily. No. I think there's something off about it. I think it's the him forcing being whimsical is what it is.
I think what you feel about this is what I feel about Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Indiana Jones.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's a similar feeling.
So, yeah, I do really like that film. And for me, as somebody who really likes musicals, I really like the kind of film it is technically it's like a Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That's one of my favourite films. It does fit into that vibe of like an older film.
Okay.
And I love Paul King making those kind of films. I just think that the Wonka-ness of it got in the way.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because, I do like it. But
Okay, well, number 11 for a reason.
Yeah. So, Jake, if you had to take 11 minus 10.
What?
You have 1. Little maths for you.
Are you sure?
Yes, 11 minus 10.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. That'd be 1. So, what is your number 1?
My number 1 film of the year.
2023.
Do you think we have the same film?
I mean, I feel like we have to at this point because I just don't see why you wouldn't have it on your list otherwise.
Okay.
Again, maybe you wouldn't, but I just don't see you having... There's 36 films to be fair. I'm trying to think, because I know at one point you had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1.
I did, yeah.
Which makes me think that either you had a change of heart about this and the other film, my number 1 film.
Yeah.
Or you just shafted this film completely, which would track. Would track, actually.
Would it? Why would it track?
You're a misogynist.
So,
what's your number 1 film, Jay?
You're correct. I did shaft that film.
Wow.
My number 1 film is Bottoms.
I want to see that. Fuck! Yeah. That was one of my films I really wanted to see as well.
So, Bottoms is a female-led gay fight club.
Yeah, I've heard about
That's
this.
the premise.
Yeah.
They set up a fight club because they want to get with girls.
I was just about to say, yeah. That's like...
Basically, that's the premise.
Yeah, that's really fun.
It is a through and through comedy.
It's Io DeBury, I think.
Yeah,
who was
Sid
April
from
O'Neil in Teenage Ninja Turtles film.
Oh yeah.
But she's in.
She's all over the place.
She's
this
blown
year.
up. Yeah, she has.
She's been in like 4 or 5 things this year,
and they're all acclaimed.
Yeah,
and
the
she's
Bear
a
is
stand-up.
incredible.
She's a stand-up comedian.
Yes, I did see some of that. Yeah, the Bear's incredible. She was in a film called Theatre Camp as well. She was in TMNT, and then she was in Bottoms.
Man,
she had a big year.
Yeah.
Bottoms is fucking incredible.
It looked really
it's
good.
So funny.
Yeah.
Like, all of the characters are so well defined and like have such good comedy in their characterization. There's like one male character and he's such a fucking idiot and he's so funny.
Yeah.
He's called like Jeff or something. He's like the school jock.
Yeah.
And they want to get with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
But he's like really pathetic.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, please forgive me and stuff like that when he messes up.
Yeah.
And his girlfriend gets in the car to get away.
Yeah.
And it's the car driven by the main characters. And they just like roll forwards and touch his knee, and then he does, you know, the Peter Griffin thing where he's like, and he's like crying on the floor just from being tapped on the knee, and like, and then there's like posters up all over the school of like he got hit by a car. It's so funny.
Fuck.
And it's like it's just genuinely really really funny. It's classic coming of age film of they're figuring stuff out, they fall out a bit, they become friends again. But it's got this really impactful, like, kind of, it's the main story, but it's not the main story, if that makes sense. So there's like a third member of their group who they just shaft the whole film.
Yeah.
And like, you obviously see it, but they don't see it at all. And the main, the actual A story is them trying to get with girls. And then like the B story, which I think is actually the A story, is her being shafted by her best friends.
Yeah. And
like, she's having such a tough time at home. And like her friends mean so much to her, but they're just not there. And they keep being really rude to her and mean to her. And like her mum is sleeping with the jock. Yeah. Kind of, and it's like a horrid situation. Yeah. But they're just not there for her. And then like them realizing that's what needs to happen. Yeah. They need, but like, yeah, it's really heartfelt. And them also like setting up a fight club, and then they like get to the fight club and they're like, we actually don't know how to fight.
That's funny.
And it just turns into like a circle of like girls punching each other in the face, and then like they're going to school the next day with like massive black eyes and stuff.
That's funny.
And there's like, they're trying to set up the club, and they're like, damn, we need a teacher to like say that it's okay for us to have this club. They need to sign it off. And so they go to this teacher who's really trying to be a feminist but doesn't understand it and thinks that being a feminist is just like agreeing to whatever.
That's funny.
And they're just like, can you just sign it or whatever? And he's like, yeah, I'm such a feminist.
No,
like,
totally, yeah.
It's so funny. And then he has a twist at the end and you're like, oh wow, which is again very funny.
Oh man, I need to see this one. I'm so excited to watch it.
And then it culminates in an American football game. Yeah. And it's like the kind of the thing that happens is these girls need to defend the football players from the opposition football
That's
players.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's so funny. And there's like swords involved.
What?
I think.
It sounds like exactly my kind of film.
100% it is. Yeah, you would love this
I saw the trailer for it and I was like, oh my god, what is this? And I was like so excited to see it. But again, one of these films that came and went and I was like, fuck, I should have seen that.
So I saw that this was on Doi. Yeah. And I, again, so similar to After Sun last year, I knew nothing about this film. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I don't really want to go on my own. So I was like, Tess, do you want to come with me? Yeah. And she was like, oh, I don't, what is it? And I was like, oh, apparently it's one of the best films of the year. No idea. I just was like, apparently it's one of the best films of the year. Paid off massively. Yeah. But yeah, and then she like, we booked in tickets and then she started looking it up and I was like, oh, she was like, I don't know about this film. Like, it sounds not up my street. But she loved it.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I loved it as well. And it's my number one film.
Nice.
Like, so yeah, that was a nice little serendipitous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad I watched it at the cinema.
Man.
It was like the one showing.
It's because that's the problem. Seeing a comedy in the cinema is always great. Like, if you can get the right comedy and then you get that whole room of people laughing, you're like, this is why comedies are great in the cinema.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Like,
I feel like I've not watched a decent comedy in years. Yeah. Like, they've been eradicated.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. But hopefully we've got a renaissance?
Renaissance
Renaissance coming.
Yeah. Hopefully.
That seems to be the vibe at the moment.
Okay,
The rom-com that just came out did really well.
No Hard Feelings.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch
No,
that.
not No Hard Feelings. I really like that film. The other one, the one that just came out, the one about the couple where they're not a couple, I think, is the vibe.
No Hard Feelings.
No, it's not. No Hard Feelings. No Hard
Sorry,
Feelings.
Anyone But You.
Yes.
I was in my head. I
Is
was
that what you were
thinking Anyone
talking
But
about?
You, but
Yeah,
I was
no.
saying No Hard
Yeah.
Feelings.
Anyone But You has done really well, apparently.
I wanted to watch it. I've seen No Hard Feelings.
I didn't really like the look of it. I like No Hard Feelings a lot.
Yeah, it was fun.
I didn't really like the look of Anyone But You, but it's done really well, I think, and it's a romantic comedy. So that's cool, and I'm glad that's happened.
Yeah. No, I want to watch that. It was on my list, but I didn't get around to it.
Yeah.
Too much other stuff to watch.
I know, too much, way too much.
Alex,
Mm-hmm.
what's your number one film of the
Don't
year?
worry, audience. I'll be the good man. I'll be the good guy.
Yeah.
My number one film is Barbie,
Yeah.
directed by Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Barbie's just fucking great.
Barbie was my number 23.
That's insane. How did it go from like it was high up, right?
Well, on my list.
Yeah.
When I haven't
swear
watched
it
any
was.
films.
Still, it jumped to 23.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
I feel like I should go first because you're gonna just gush about the film.
Yeah, yeah.
And it would be nice to end on a positive.
Yeah.
It just didn't mesh for me.
God, you're a sexist.
Basically, yeah. It didn't stick the landing at all. The storyline with Will Ferrell should have, like, there was a funny joke when they were like, you know, when it was in the boardroom and it was like all this stuff, but he should have stopped being a character at that point. He shouldn't have been in the film anymore. The storyline for the kind of the Act 3 stuff that happens, I think it's too long and it loses its point. It just goes on a little bit too long and it takes too long to come to any kind of conclusion, and it doesn't really feel like they quite figured out what it is that was meant to happen. I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to quantify and it's kind of weird. But yeah, the relationship between Barbie and Ken, it just didn't land for me at all. I get what they were going for, 100%, and I wish they had stuck it for me, but it just didn't work. And it's a shame. I'm sad that I didn't like it because I think it is a really important film to exist, even if it is just a massive product placement film. I think it's very important, and I think it's a good thing for like young girls to have now to be able to watch. But it just wasn't the one for me.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you hate women.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty
Just
much.
wanted to clear that up.
Yeah. I'm actually way more inclusive than you because mine was gay and not just women.
You. Okay, so Barbie. Let me start by saying this.
Mm-hmm.
I've been excited for Barbie for a very long time.
Yeah.
For this, genuinely, when I heard this was being made, I was like, "What the fuck?" Then I saw it was being made by Greta Gerwig, and I was like, "Very exciting. Love Greta Gerwig." Then I saw it was Margot Robbie, and I was like, "Great." Then I saw it was Ryan Gosling, and I was like, "Interesting." Then I saw her list of films she was basing the film on, and one of them was Lego Movie. And I was like, oh my god, this is going to be some weird fucking
meta
look at Barbie and all this stuff. And I was like, this is exciting. And I was like, and then I kept seeing all the casting where it was like, we're getting like Simu Liu or Lee.
Simu Liu.
Kutigatwa.
Yeah.
Emma Mackey. Issa Rae.
Yeah.
All these different people as Barbies and Kens, and I was like, "Oh, what? Okay, this is fascinating." John Cena, Dua Lipa. Well, John Cena wasn't cast; he was just in London when they were making it.
Yes,
like he was cast, but like it wasn't announced as cast.
No, that is true.
So I was following this film for a while, and I was very excited. Then I saw it was being written by Greta and her partner Noah Baumbach, and I was like, "That's great! Two fantastic writers, and they're a couple, which is cute." And then I saw the film, and I was just like blown away. I didn't know what entirely to expect.
Yeah.
Like, I figured it'd be funny, but it was really funny. I think it genuinely cracks me up so much. Like, I think what it is I think, I remember during the film, I turned to Ella, my flatmate, one of my best friends. I turned to her during the film, and I was like, I feel like I wrote this. Because there are points where the comedy is so specifically something that I would think is funny. And like the Ken jokes in particular between him and Barbie, the joke of the self-evident like sexism stuff he does.
Right. The
bit where they're walking down the street and she's like, I feel like everyone's looking at us. And like she's like, it's horrible. And he's like, yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of joke I would make.
Okay.
I think that's very funny to me, just the like, ignorance, and it's like he doesn't have any idea what he's saying. And then all the stuff with Will Ferrell's character, I think, the blatantness I think is the best way to put it.
Mhm.
Just like how there's no like they're all like children. Like there's no hiding any of their like actual things really. And like I think that cracks me up, and I love the fact that Greta managed to make a film that Mattel would release that shits on Mattel enough while also pleasing them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they like definitely come out as the good guys because the optics, in a business term, the optics of it are that Mattel let them do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, look, Mattel are cool because they let them make fun of them.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they were banking on. Which is, like, Mattel are gross, obviously.
Have you seen all of the films that they're now going to make because of this?
It's the whole thing about the end of Oppenheimer is, like, just Greta. It's like, I'll become deaf.
Yeah.
Like, what have I done? Like, I did this and it's ended okay, but it goes on. Like, what have I created?
In 20 years, there'll be a film about Greta making this, and then the repercussions
don't.
of her making this. And why there's a fucking
It'll
Uno
be
film.
called Gerwig. But Uno film. Everyone in it's really funny. It has a really genuine, heartfelt message that's important. It talks about, I think the thing that the film accomplishes that I think is fascinating is it talks about all this stuff. It's basically a film about basic feminism.
Yeah.
But I think it's important that it's about basic feminism because it's a wide-reaching film. And I think it's just something to put out there to be like, look, this is feminism.
But then...
And I feel like we do need that.
No,
and
100%
we need that for,
we
like,
do.
people to watch and be like, oh.
But then it also very much solidifies the false impression of the false reality of feminism, which is that at the very end they go back to Barbie's being in control of everything, and they're like, oh, maybe in 10 to 20 years Ken's can get involved.
Yeah, no,
and it's
I think that's
feminism
a weird ending
is
point.
actually like men and women being treated equally.
Yeah, I know.
Not
which is funny because the beginning of the film, that is the entire point.
Yeah,
is that Barbie Land is run entirely by women, which isn't feminism.
But then they go back to and then they make a cheap joke out of it.
Yeah, I know. I don't love that moment. But that's one moment.
But it's the ending, and it completely undercuts the message.
But it's not the final thing of the film. The message of the film arguably isn't that either, I don't think. Because what the film's about, like, the antagonist of the film is the idea of patriarchy, right? And matriarchy, arguably. And really, what the film's about is being a woman.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, how this thing affects all of us. Like, it's also about being a man, arguably, in a smaller way. Like, with Ken's character. Like, the whole line of him saying, like, it's really funny, but it also, I think, says a lot. The scene where he says, I stopped caring about patriarchy when I found out it wasn't about horses, but at that point, like, 'cause he was so far into it.
Yeah.
And I feel like that kind of actually says a lot. Like, patriarchy's a weird fucking thing, and it's a hard thing for people to, like, just come out. It's like, as a man, the idea of coming out of the patriarchy in the same way that for Barbie in the film it's scary to come out of matriarchy. It's like, I like my lot in life. Yeah. I like what I have. You don't realise actually the negative connotations of all of it and like what you're actually giving to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like the idea is that his character, like, falls into that trap of like the patriarchy and then actually doesn't believe any of what he's talking about, but he's like, this is pretty cool, I like this.
Yeah.
And then him at the end being able to like realise that like he's wrong, and all of them to realise they're wrong. But like, yeah, the main point of the story is at the end of that film is like Barbie, like America Ferrera's character giving the big speech about like how being a woman fucking sucks, because it's like you're either like you're too fat, or you're too skinny, or like you have to be perfect and all this stuff. And at the end of that film, the idea that it's like, why does Barbie, like, it's really nice, the idea that, like, oh, Barbie can be anything, and, like, she can be the president or a pilot or, like, all this stuff. And it's like, how about just existing and being a person? How that's okay. Like, you don't have to be anything fucking special, quote unquote, to be special.
Yeah.
You can just be a person. And, like, the end of that film is Barbie realizing that, like, she just wants to be a person.
Yeah.
And, like, live her life. And I think that's what the film's about. It's not about, like, as much as it deals with the issues of, like, patriarchy, matriarchy, and, like I said, patriarchy is kind of like the antagonist of the film that, like, makes things happen and, like, is commenting on that.
Yeah.
It's not about that. Like, the resolution of the film isn't meant to be that, like, we fix the patriarchy, matriarchy situation. It's more so just all these women kind of, like, be able to address this thing and be like, fuck this. and like we can do. It's okay, like to be you. It's like a warm hug. I feel like, and the fact that like multiple women I've spoken to, but like when I went to the film with my flatmate Ella, the fact that she was crying next to me during those moments of the film, obviously it means something.
Yeah,
and obviously it is doing what it's setting out to do.
Yeah,
and I think the fact that it's like an important film in that way, but it's also a really funny film.
Yeah,
is so cool, and I think Greta's amazing for it. I think she's one of the best directors working today, and like a huge inspiration like with her films. But like, yeah, I think she crushed it with it. I think it's just a lovely. It's just such a great film to exist in terms of it being like the production design and like just how she directed it and all that sort of stuff on top of everything else. It's like incredible. The whole thing about them like running out of pink paint in like the UK where they were filming.
Yeah,
like hilarious.
Yeah,
like, I love that as a weird little cinema history fact. Like, yeah, we ran out of pink paint because we made Barbie.
Yeah,
like, great.
No, yeah, I'm glad that you liked it because I am genuinely sad that I didn't.
I'm genuinely a misogynist. So
Yeah,
like, it was really tough for me.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I feel like the important thing here is that the film was not made for me.
No.
You know, it was made for a different audience, and I think it did really connect with that audience.
Yeah,
and it's a good thing that it exists.
Yeah,
even if it is a lot of product placement.
Even if you're like, oh, bloody women.
Fucking women.
Jesus. I hate that you're editing it, so you can fix this.
I can fix this.
That's it.
Well, maybe give us a little comment below and let us know what your top film of the year was.
Top 10 and tell us whose list you preferred, and tell us who you think is the bigger misogynist. Is it me for not seeing Bottoms, or is it Jake for not seeing Barbie or not liking Barbie?
Well, see,
I would like Bottoms if I saw it, so that's the difference.
The fact that you haven't seen Bottoms makes you a misogynist, and also it makes you the other thing.
I saw Barbie on Pride. I would argue that's it. I'm an ally.
No, because you were at Barbie instead of going to Pride.
I just went to Oppenheimer and then Barbie and Pride, which I was very confused as to what my deal was at that point. I was like, am I an ally or am I the enemy? Like,
you're the enemy.
No.
Because you're in the cinema instead of supporting.
No, because I was supporting by seeing Barbie. Fuck.
What's the thing if you're prejudiced against people with different sexual orientation?
Oh, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, but what's the word?
Homophobic?
Yeah, you're homophobic.
No, I'm not.
As well.
No! I should have said cool guy. You went, yeah, you're a cool guy.
Yeah. That's the list, I guess. If you want to... I don't know if you've put any on Letterboxd, but my full list is on Letterboxd if you want to look at it.
I haven't used Letterboxd in a while.
There's a whole 36 films or something on there that I watched this year. On to the next year, I guess.
Yeah.
There's lots of good films coming up.
Yeah, there are some good films. I know I've got all the films that you listed that I've seen to watch.
Exactly. Yeah.
So next year I'll talk about those, and then the ones from this year, I'll talk about the next year.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Sounds like a plan.
I'm saying now, June Part 2 will probably be my favourite film of next year.
Fascinating.
It won't be, but like
it's so interesting. It was.
I'm going to say it will be. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, I just wrapped it up.
Wrap it up on the final podcast that we're going to do of this.
Yeah. What do you want me to do?
I don't know.
Like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe to the account, please.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere, but this podcast is dead. This is a dead podcast.
Okay.
This is a dead pod. But there will be another pod born from this pod.
There will be.
Rising from the ashes.
Probably in summer.
Rise, Lord podcast. That's a little Star Wars joke.
Yep.
For you.
I didn't enjoy it that much.
Fuck off.
I think going into the next podcast, we need a higher level of comedy.
Oh.
That you can't deliver.
Oh, so you bring someone else in?
I'm not saying anything.
Like, wait, does that mean I'm fired, or that there's
You'll
someone else?
find out in summer.
Oh no! I need this job, man. I thought it was just about to pay me.
Just about to. Yeah. No, sorry.
That's so close to payment. You said after like how many episodes? I was like one away.
Oh dear. Well, I guess you're gonna have to get another job, aren't you?
Yeah.
You can't quit this one though. You're under contract.
Fuck. Shit. 7 years.
It's been so long.
I don't get paid unless I'm doing it. Fuck. Okay.
What?
That's okay.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
That's okay.
Not you.
Oh.
You haven't listened to a word I've said.
What?
If you take one thing away from this podcast, go and watch Godzilla.
It's not even your number one.
I know.
Fuck's sake.
No, go watch Bottoms as well. It's very good. Don't watch Barbie. Piece of shit.
Everyone's seen Barbie.
I know.
Made $1 billion, Jake.
Did.
You ever made $1 billion?
Yes, actually.
What? Baby!
The last episode of the podcast.
No! I knew I should have signed up for residuals.
You only get paid after 7 years.
Fuck. It's not even been a year.
It's not, no.
Can I sign a new contract after the first year?
No, you can't.
No, I did, and that's why it's not even been a year.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking idiot. Oh.
Thank you to the listeners for listening, not you.
You knew I was going to jump on
Yeah.
that.
And we will see you in summer with a brand new podcast.
Yeah.
That we're very excited about, I think.
Brand spanking new. We're
Yeah.
gonna be spanking some brands.
Maybe you will.
I am.
Yeah. That's how the next
The
podcast
segment
is
on
going to
every
open.
episode is me
Great.
spanking a brand.
Amazing. You do your bit.
Wait, I'm trying to think how I say it. It's been so long since we've done one of these.
It's not been that long.
It feels like it has for me. I feel like I've been through the ringer. Well, until next podcast, you won't hear us, but we'll see you. Bye.
Bye.
I almost fucked it up.
You did.
I
That's
got
maybe
it.
the last time you'll say that.
What?